Welcome back to the Upside Sports Network. My name is Michael. Appreciate you guys joining us on a Sunday night, not just for a game, but for the MLB first-year player draft. Today it's going to be all about Drew Jones, Tamar Johnson, Brooks Lee, Jackson Holliday, players like that. Those are the future names, future stars of Major League Baseball, and we're here to watch them get drafted by your favorite team today. First pick, of course, is going to be the Baltimore Orioles. It seems like they are not going to go with the top overall player on the board, Drew Jones. Rumors around Vegas, anyway, have set Tamar Johnson as the top possible pick. Seems like he has switched to a minus 300 bet right now to be able to be drafted as that number one pick. Orioles seem to be doing what they always do, splitting up that pool money from their first pick and their second pick. Now, if you're wondering, hey, what are you talking about? Shouldn't you always draft the best player available? In almost every other draft, I would agree with you. That is absolutely what you should do. But each position of the draft is allotted a certain amount of money to be given to that player, or to that slot anyway. Sometimes teams like Baltimore will go for a guy that might be ranked 6 or 7 spots down, get a cheaper deal, and save the money that they could have used on the top end guy, and use that money for the second pick and be able to get another guy to sign that may have otherwise gone on to college or not signed with your team in the second round. No, players do not have to sign on with the team they're drafted by. They can choose to go ahead and opt, or they can choose to not sign with them. Look at Kumar Rocker from last year and the New York Mets. They were unable to come to an agreement after injury issues seemed to pop up during the physical with the Mets. They ran it all the way down to the deadline. A couple other teams ran down a couple of issues to the deadline, but the Mets were the only one unable to get Kumar Rocker across the finish line. Very important, as that kind of set things back for the Mets organization. They, of course, will have a supplemental pick in this draft as a result of not signing Kumar Rocker, so all is not lost for the New York Mets. But Kumar Rocker will be in this draft. There's not a lot of pitching in this draft. Kumar Rocker figures to be going towards the back end of that first round. So for teams that have winning records, you might get a top-end prospect at a time when you maybe wouldn't have gotten him if he had signed that contract with the Mets last year. But thank you guys for joining us here on a Sunday evening. Baseball is pretty much concluded for the day, but just looking at the big board, looking at Baseball America's big board anyway, in case you're wondering what Baseball America is, it is the site that actually ranks all the prospects, international prospects, minor leagues, even kind of projects out rosters for 10 years in advance. They really know their stuff. And at the top of their big board is Drew Jones. He's at the top of mine as well. Second is the shortstop out of Cal Poly, Brooks Lee. Third for them is Jackson Holliday. 4, Tamar Johnson. And 5, Elijah Green. 10 years ago, Elijah Green would have probably been drafted number 1 in this draft, just because of the way teams looked at talent back then. 5-tool player, somebody who, if he gets all the tools to kind of work together and gets to the big league level, could be a superstar. But looking at the other players that are on the board right now, it looks like they're going to go with a little bit different approach this time around. Drew Jones is probably the most well-rounded athlete of the bunch. Drew Jones, of course, has the instincts of his father defensively in center field. In my opinion, Andrew Jones was the best, bar none, the best center fielder to ever play the game in Major League history. And then we saw Andrew Jones in the second half of his career, after his legs kind of failed him, became a power hitter, slugger. So he has the benefit of both sides of his dad kind of helping him through. And, of course, all of that knowledge, all that baseball he's been around all of his life, growing up around the Atlanta Braves organization, picking the brain of Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, John Smoltz, players of that ilk. And then later on with the New York Yankees, the Texas Rangers, etc. The list goes on and on. Drew Jones, to me, is a can't-miss prospect. It makes me wonder why Baltimore is splitting up the money when you have such a high-end guy at the top of the board. Everybody else is a clear 2, 3, 4, in my opinion, after Drew Jones. But it looks like Tamar Johnson is probably going to be the guy for the Baltimore Orioles. He's a shortstop, probably with the best hit tool in this class. Really is a good speedster, kind of a shorter player. But Tamar Johnson should be somebody who can play up the middle for the Baltimore Orioles. They don't really have anybody like that right now. Right now they're playing with Jorge Mateo at short and Rougned Odor at second base. Not really anybody they consider a stalwart at the position. So wherever Tamar Johnson ends up playing, if he sticks at shortstop, takes over that eventually, or maybe even shifts over to second if he's unable to play that position long term. The third on my list anyway is going to be Jackson Holliday. He's a shortstop out of Oklahoma High School anyway. The talent that he possesses, the story that he has, the background that he has, brings all the character elements to the table. 6'1", 180 pounds, really good runner, can has a lot of power in that bat as well for a shortstop, and everybody wants a good shortstop. If you can play a shortstop position in high school, more than likely you are going to be on the upper levels of the minor leagues as you go through the minors. Reason being is because shortstops, if things don't work for a shortstop, you can try them at third base, you can try them at second, you can try them in the outfield. However, if you're a left fielder and you don't make it there, where are they going to move you to if you can't play the division or play the position? They're going to move you to first base. After that, then what? First basemen are tougher to judge just because everybody needs to have that power bat at first base. Tougher to judge those numbers in high school because if you're a good hitter at the high school level, doesn't always translate when you get on to the upper levels of the minor leagues. Can you hit different styles of pitching, or are you able to lay off the curveball? Can you hit the curveball? All those kinds of things factor in. But top of my board again is going to be Drew Jones, followed by Jackson Holliday. Third on my list would be Tamar Johnson, just because of how good of a hit tool he has. 4 would be Elijah Green. 5 would be Brooks Lee. And the catcher, Kevin Pareda, would be 6 out of Georgia Tech. Now, there's some rumblings that the Texas Rangers are very interested in him should Drew Jones be gone. In fact, a number of the top mock drafts out there have him going to Texas. Texas traded away Jose Trevino before the season began. He wasn't necessarily thought of as a long-term solution at catcher, but they have 2 in-house options that currently could be a top pick in this draft. Building around that young core would be great for them. Arizona Diamondbacks have the second pick in tonight's draft. They're believed to probably go after Drew Jones if he gets past the Baltimore Orioles, which it's now believed Tamar Johnson will go number 1 overall. Baltimore really enjoys having that table setter at the top of their lineup in Cedric Mullins. By the time Tamar Johnson will be ready, maybe Cedric Mullins is towards the back half of his career, as Cedric Mullins was an older prospect who finally cashed in last year or a couple of years ago with the Orioles. But this Orioles team is an up-and-coming team, and getting that top overall pick, certainly a boon for their organization. Looks like a lot of the draft coverage really kicking off now. Interviews with former players, a lot of representatives. MLB is finally doing this draft right this year, investing a lot of time and energy into making this the only thing on the board right now. Draft begins in about 49 minutes and change, so we got a lot of time to kill until then. We'll go through all of the top prospects in this draft and where they should go, which teams are looking at them, that kind of thing. Just checking on some more headlines, seeing if everything's getting going anyway. Oh, hold on, that's not the right time. I was going to say, if it starts in 50 minutes, that can't be right. Starts in about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Cringe Fortnite. Good name. You play a lot of Fortnite, I'm guessing? I was actually playing this morning when I woke up anyway, just to kind of shake off the cobwebs. But appreciate you guys joining us as we wait for the MLB draft to get underway. Baltimore Orioles are the number 1 pick, followed by the Diamondbacks and then the Rangers. That's where the most intrigue is at the top of the draft right now. What's going to happen with Drew Jones? Does he fall out of that number 1 pick? It seems like that things are leaning that way right now. Texas Rangers top prospect, Josh Young, anyway. He's had labrum surgery earlier this offseason, or just before the season began anyway. He's expected to be back around September. His brother, Jace Young, who also played at Texas Tech this past year, is one of the top prospects in this draft to kind of keep your eyes out for. Will he go to Texas and play with his brother, or will another team get the young brother? First-round picks are not tradable, so do not look for draft trades. Now, that doesn't mean that backroom deals aren't being made as far as like, hey, we won't take this guy if you do X, Y, and Z. There hasn't really been any major instance of that in history, but I don't see why a baseball team couldn't do that. I mean, say for instance, that the Baltimore Orioles are going to go for Tamar Johnson. the clear-cut #1 player on the Texas Rangers board is Drew Jones. It's not close by a mile. They need an outfielder of somebody of his caliber. So maybe they talk to the Arizona Diamondbacks, say, hey, we'll give you this minor league starter in a trade as kind of a sweetheart type of a deal in exchange for a package of smaller prospects later on in the draft, as long as you don't touch Drew Jones and he's there for us at #3. Something like that could work out. Now, of course, that could always be collusion and so forth that you have to worry about. I'm no lawyer, but you always got to be careful with things like that. Rangers are still building up, so maybe they would be willing to part with a pitching prospect to be able to get their star center fielder of the future. Leody Taveras has finally come around as far at the plate for them, so maybe they don't have such a big need in the outfield, but they still need somebody out there. They're getting nothing out of their current outfield right now. They're counting on a bunch of role players and older prospects who've aged out of other systems. Here we go. Kiefer Sutherland doing the read at the open here. Kiefer Sutherland of 24 fame and more recently designated survivor. Everybody's got to start somewhere. Really excited to see where all these players are going to end up going. As a Rangers fan, I've watched a tough rebuilding session go on for about 3 years now, just a complete teardown. They should still sell at the deadline, in my opinion, just to kind of give them one last bite at the apple of top prospects for in the draft next year. But this team is much better with Seager and Simeon on board, and they should be much better next year as they invest more in this team and their top prospects come up in the second half of this year. But it's not just about the Rangers. Every team hoping their future is going to be much better with any one of these players. Arizona Diamondbacks have a couple of good young starters they need to work with. A couple of good veterans that they're going to have to probably deal around the deadline. David Peralta. They're kind of a team in transition. They still have the aging money of Madison Bumgarner on their roster. Sounds like they're going to have to eat almost all of that contract if they're hoping to get anything in return for him. Just waiting for it to get going here. Should start any moment now. Commissioner Rob Manfred to take the podium. You guys tell me who you guys are watching for. Which team do you want to see draft Drew Jones? Which team do you want to see draft Tamar Johnson? Who's your favorite team? Who do you want to see them go for? Cam Collier's in this draft, son of another major leaguer. Carl Crawford's son is in this draft as well. A lot of MLB bloodlines here. I know not everybody gets the MLB network, or ESPN, or you're working or whatever. So thank you for watching us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button and like. We really appreciate all you guys joining us. Wow. They're making this more of an event than I thought they would. Kind of an outdoor arena or outdoor look. They're not doing it in Studio 42 like they usually do. You guys tell me, where are you guys watching from? Who's your team? So many emotions for you because you were in these draft rooms before. To me, it was the most exciting day of the year. It's exciting for teams. Got 15 of y'all in the chat right now. Don't be afraid. Say hi. No need to be timid. It's baseball, guys. Nothing more American than apple pie and baseball. They show pictures of the different players. Carl Crawford in attendance with his son, Justin Crawford. If he's half as good a player as Carl Crawford, a team is getting a great player. Now, everybody remembers the back half of Carl Crawford's career, more of the big contract that wasn't lived up to, etc. But there's a reason he signed that big deal. He had a lot of talent, a lot of speed. They show a couple of the pitchers in this draft as well. There's only expected to be maybe 1 or 2 pitchers in the top 10 this year, as pitching is not as good as it has been in the past. Show Kevin Pareda there. Probably going to go in the top 5. Catching always seems to go early in the draft the last several years. As they show kind of the green room right now. As they show Tamar Johnson, second baseman, shortstop, from a high school in Georgia anyway. 57 seconds until we start. Yep. Watching Dan O'Dowd basically tell them to take best player available, but I think they're going to go with Tamar Johnson, number 1. They've split that money up over the years to kind of make themselves better and better, and that strategy has worked for them. It sounds like that's the strategy they're going to stay with here. The only spots in the draft where that really kind of makes sense is doing that here. I mean, you might take like a senior sign. You might hear that phrase said a lot over the next couple of days through the MLB draft. A senior sign is where they are a senior in or a senior in college anyway, and are not expected to be drafted very high because they are an older prospect, but they're still very good players. So therefore, they still are drafted. They just sign for a whole lot less than what slot value might be, and then you can take that money and use it to sign them or sign another player elsewhere in the draft. Rob Manfred comes out to the podium, and here we go. The 2022 MLB draft is officially underway.
We welcome you to the 2022 draft. We could not be more excited to again bring the draft to All-Star Week and to take advantage of the terrific Southern California weather for our first ever outdoor draft here at Xbox Plaza and LA Live.
Draft taking place this year in LA, where the All-Star Weekend is.
The future stars of our game, an opportunity to hear their names called on our sport's biggest stage as they take the next important step in their careers. I'd like to thank all the distinguished guests here representing our 30 clubs, and I especially want to welcome the young men who have joined us tonight in Los Angeles.
First outdoor draft ever for baseball. Taking a cue from the NFL, baseball might finally be learning how to get this thing right. For years, this thing has been held basically in the shadows of evening games.
Thank you and enjoy the night.
Baltimore's officially on the clock.
They've been on the clock for nights in the Baltimore Orioles inside their very aesthetically pleasing draft room. The exposed brick, nice touch. The office is in Baltimore.
4 picks tonight for the Orioles.
Beautiful. Some of the best you're going to see. Who will they take with the #1 pick? Drew Jones. We got all kinds of talent. Jackson Holiday, Elijah Green, Jamar.
Probably going to get a commercial break before they announce the pick. So appreciate you guys joining us. If you're just joining us, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you don't miss a thing. Follow us on Twitter at UpsideSN. And we're not going to listen to those commercial breaks anyway. But seems like Vegas thinks Tamar Johnson is going to be the pick, as he's minus 300 at last time I looked anyway, to be the top pick. I'm of the belief that Baltimore should go with Drew Jones just because of how good of a prospect he is and how clear-cut of a top prospect he is. Yeah, I'm right there with you. As a Ranger fan myself, I mean, I really hope Johnson goes 1, and then please let the Diamondbacks take anybody else at 2. The Rangers are salivating for that possibility. They've already got half of that, it seems like, done. Seems like Tamar Johnson is probably going to be the pick. If it isn't, if they are unable to reach that deal, I expect Drew Jones to indeed be the selection. Appreciate all 15 of you guys joining us. We're about a minute away from the announcement of the first overall pick in the MLB draft. Long been expected to be Drew Jones, but maybe the Baltimore Orioles are going to split that money up yet again. The GM of the Orioles came from the Houston Astros system, where they originally drafted Carlos Correa, who was not the top overall pick, or thought of as the top pick in that draft. I don't think Holiday is a possibility here. I don't think it's going to be Holiday. I think it's either going to be Jones or Johnson. I think they want that middle infielder. I think Holiday's a real possibility for 2, though. There's a lot of people who have Holiday at the top of their draft board, according to a number of reports. I mean, he's a very good player, but Drew Jones to me is just a can't-miss type of prospect, and you don't really get that in Major League Baseball too often. I mean, you think back to the draft with Bryce Harper, you think back to the Steven Strasburg draft, those types of things. They were considered can't-miss pieces. Chris Bryant as well. Those guys obviously ended up to have nice Major League careers. Bryce Harper, an MVP level player. Steven Strasburg, if it hadn't been for injury, probably be an ace level pitcher every single year. I think Jackson Holiday is probably more the #2 pick between him and Drew Jones, if Drew Jones does indeed slip past #1. Just to kind of give you an idea of the prospect here. Tamar Johnson. Let's see. See if I can get it pulled up. He's the #4 prospect on the Baseball America big board anyway. 70 hit tool, 60 power, 45 run, and 50 field, which is why I think he might end up moving out of that shortstop spot anyway. But second base, I could see him there long term for them. The pick is in. Just in case you guys are missing it, the Baltimore Orioles are on the clock. The pick is in. The first overall pick in the MLB draft is just about to be announced by Commissioner Rob Manfred. Who will it be? I would go with Drew Jones, but I'm going to go with Vegas on this one and say it's probably Tamar Johnson. Vegas always seems to know a little bit more than we do. So maybe they got some inside information on this one. If you guys are at work and are unable to watch the draft, appreciate you guys joining us here on YouTube. And just out of the commercial break, they do show Tamar Johnson. He answers a phone call as they come out of break. He walked off the couch and out of camera shot. Uh-oh. Did they just tip the hand?
I want to connect the dots as much as possible because it could be like, the pizza delivery. I had to go to the bathroom. I'd be like, hey, I got to get out of here. Open the phone, think I'm on the phone before I go pee. I'm telling you. All right, the pick is in, the number 1 overall selection. And it's time to go to the podium. Commissioner Rob Manfred's about to tell us who the O's are taking.
Wow.
With the first pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Baltimore Orioles select Jackson Holliday.
Jackson Holliday, wow.
From Stillwater High School in Stillwater, Oklahoma.
I'm shocked. I know they wanted to go middle infielder, but wow. I thought they would have gone with a better hit tool. Maybe they wanted somebody who could stick at short possibly a little bit better, as I think Johnson probably would have flipped over to second as he got through the minors. But that means Drew Jones and Tamar Johnson are going to be there at 2. We'll see what the Diamondbacks do. But Jackson Holliday out of Stillwater High School in Oklahoma. Let's give you a little bit of a rundown on Jackson Holliday. Number 3 on Baseball America's big board, 60 hit tool, 55 power, 60 run, 55 field, and a 60 arm. Really good all-around athlete. He's the son of 7-time All-Star and 4-time Silver Slugger Matt Holliday. Left-handed hitting, toolsy shortstop according to them. Boosted his draft stock by getting bigger and stronger this year. Really put some effort into the gym, of course. Inconsistent performance last year in the circuit showcase. Scouts thought he was a bit aggressive and the swing got a little bit big. That's why he was striking out a lot more than they would have liked. They believed he was simply looking to hit more for power than trying to develop the power naturally. But he finally found his stroke this year, becoming a little bit more instinctual, natural hitting swing this year, where he broke JT Realmuto's national hits record. Awesome. Worked hard over the offseason, added strength and a few inches of height, of course, as he gets a little older. He's 6'1", 180. Bats left and throws right. Above average power in the future. Tools pop across the board, especially as he hits the weight room more and more as he gets older. Shows plus running ability, which Tamar Johnson does not. One of the top tier hitters in this draft, and will probably stick at the position, which I think probably makes him the biggest. That's probably the biggest reason why the Orioles made the pick there. Diamondbacks are on the clock. Minute left to go on their choice. Yeah, I was going based off of what they were saying with Vegas anyway. I mean, Jackson Holliday is the better prospect, yes, but I thought they could have gotten a much better discount and possibly gone after a much better prospect with their second and third picks. After all, they do have 4 picks tonight. Let's see the breakdown from Jim Callis.
It's maybe Tamar Johnson too. It's interesting. So many people thought, okay, the Orioles are going to cut a deal. The Orioles cut deals the last 2 years. They didn't cut a deal here. They took one of the best players. I think Jackson Holliday.
They're saying they didn't have to go above slot here. They think they might have gone just at slot value, which makes sense for them with so much draft possibilities for them at the top of the draft here. But they don't save money, which is a little bit surprising for them.
I can't think too many players, and Jackson Holliday is one who got better in every phase of the game. Better hitter, stronger, faster, better arm, better shortstop.
Can't disagree with you, though, Charles. I think he was probably the better pick there for them. I still would have gone with Drew Jones as the number 1 pick, though. But maybe not for Baltimore because they have Mullins there. They do have pretty much nothing up the middle, so I can understand the fit. Pick is in for the Diamondbacks as they interview the Holliday family. Wow. Pick 1-1, Jackson Holliday. Good on you, Baltimore. You might have finally gotten it right. They've gotten it right the last few drafts, though. They've got a good young core coming, and prospects coming along the way as well. We're going to get through competitive balance round B tonight, I believe. little bit of chatter that other teams may have had Holiday higher on their board than they had originally let on. Got to think Arizona goes Drew Jones here. No reason to believe he's going to fall past 2. Arizona needs to pick the best prospect, and he's the best one on the board by far. All righty. Looks like we're about to get the announcement of the second overall pick. Jackson Holiday goes 1 to Baltimore. You guys let us know. Who do you think is going to be the second pick here for Arizona? Is it going to be Drew Jones, Tamar Johnson? They go off the board and save money? Yeah, I don't even think it's a real debate. I think that would be the shocker of the draft if Jones slips past 2.
Orioles. Dan, does this make sense to you? I'm ecstatic what the Orioles just did. I think they took the best player on the board. I mean, they got over $17 million in slot money to work in, total cap money to work with, and they simply took the best player on the board. It was the first time they've done that in an organization, and I think they need to be commended. They've got something really good happening in Baltimore. Coach, what's the challenge when you have a 17 or 18-year-old come to the program? I think that made the journey.
What, Liberty, what do you think? You think it's Jones as well?
Most of them came to you have a lot of success like Jackson did in high school, and it's not always going to be easy. So what are you going to do when you kind of get punched in the gut for the first time? But he's as prepared as any individual because of his family background. He's the second number 1 pick ever to have his father play in the big leagues. Goes back to my film here. Playing with the other guy, Ken Griffey Jr. That's pretty unique. It is unique. And I'm telling you, watching Jackson.
7th round pick, Matt Holiday. That worked out pretty well for Colorado.
Bobby was in high school. I'm ranting about this kid. There was so much similarities. Obviously, Bobby was a right-hand hitter. He's a left. Go ahead, Greg. Listen, we're looking at comp, and we'd love to do that. I think Corey Seager's too tall. This should be at 6'1". Is it a mix of Brandon Crawford, Corey Seager? In terms of power, would be Corey Seager. Brandon Crawford at the position could do something. We're almost throwing Trey Turner in there. What is the speed at Trey Turner's level? I mean, I had a tough time. I had Stephen Drew a little bit on him, but I think he, is a better runner than
Stephen Drew comp, ouch. I think he's a lot better player than Stephen Drew. Come on, Dan O'Dowd. Usually agree with Dan O'Dowd on almost every one of his points that he makes, the thought process he has, but if you're getting Stephen Drew for the number 1 pick, ouch. I don't think that's a good comp. Maybe a Omar Vizquel back in the day. Maybe somebody like that. That might make a little bit more sense to me. 3 picks tonight for the Diamondbacks, 2nd, 34th, and 43rd overall. Upside pick, Elijah Green is out there as well. Maybe they go catcher. Catcher has been a promising spot for at the top of the draft for a number of different teams. Bobby Wagner to Rams. What? What are you talking about? Here we go. Finally.
With the second pick in the 2022 MLB draft, the Arizona Diamondbacks select Drew Jones.
Yep, Drew Jones goes 2 overall. Darn. I was hoping he'd drop one more spot as a Ranger fan, but that's a great spot for him. Mm. So close. All right, let's kind of go through his profile here. 6'4", 180. He's 18 years old. Very high-level prospect. 60 hit tool, 55 power, 70 runs, 70 field, and a 65 arm. Son of Andrew Jones, the former 5-time All-Star and 10-time Gold Glove winner. Excellent defensive center fielder, as is Drew Jones. His present skills and projection keep him at the top of this class while being able to handle a premium defensive position. Stood out during the summer showcase circuit, plenty of hard contact, ability to drive the ball with authority to the right center field gap. Swing wasn't always the most fluid or hitterish at times. He would get out of sync at times, resulting in a ground ball outs, but he has improved his consistency this spring. Advanced approach at the plate, solid pitch recognition, pure bat to ball skills. With added strength, he should be above average to plus raw power, who could become a plus hitter with above average game power. He's a lock to play center field in the majors and one of the best defensive center fielders scouts have ever seen. Instincts and physical tools are necessary to be a 70 grade defender at the position, making him easily a 70 grade. Scouting directors unanimously named Jones the best defensive outfielder in the high school class prior to the season. There's nothing to change that, as he demonstrated that ability all year round. Double plus runner, fantastic first step, so he's very fast. Andrew Jones was the same way. Could say it runs in the genes. Dynamic center fielder, inclined to teams may be inclined to carry him at shortstop as well, where he shows advanced actions and instincts as an infielder. Committed to Vanderbilt, but expected to be one of the first players selected, blah, 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 blah. I believe he's probably going to be a center fielder in the majors. I don't expect him to be a shortstop or anything like that. I think that when you have this good of a talented player with somebody's brain like Andrew Jones, the ability to kind of coach him up at home, in addition to any type of training that he gets from your organization, I think that is very rare for him to have this type of ability. We saw a whole bunch of highlights of him this spring, being able to knock the ball all over the field. Who would I choose between Collier or Lee? Well, probably go Lee. Yeah, I'd probably go Lee. I mean, Collier's a little younger between the two. So maybe you have a lot more projection there for Collier. Maybe you're able to get a little bit more out of him, but the advanced approach of Brooks Lee might fit right into the timeline with your core that you have now. Yeah, I think in years past the pick would have been Elijah Green. I'm not sure if that's what they do this year, just because that type of thinking has always been the Rangers' way up until, say, about 3 years ago during this recent rebuild. So I don't think he's going to be the guy. Tom Grieve is the Rangers' representative there. He's in his final year with the organization. The pick. Holy smokes! Holy smokes! They went with Kumar Rocker. What the heck? What the heck? Holy smokes! What? I was hoping he would be there later in the draft, but the Rangers don't really have a pick there. But oh my goodness. I mean, last year I was hoping for Leiter, of course, at 2, and if somehow Leiter or Kumar Rocker fell, he would be there. But He was supposed to go towards the back end of this draft, or back into this first round. They get the 1 and 2 rotation pieces out of the Vanderbilt rotation last year. Kumar pitched very well, of course, in independent ball this past year. Oh my goodness! But he's been out of real coaching for the past year. I mean, I guess the Rangers are a little bit more fearful than they let on about their top prospects being able to make it. Maybe they trade off their top prospects that they have, rotation pieces, options. Cole Wynn's having a down year. Jack Leiter's having a little bit of a down start anyway to his career. Yeah, this is going to throw everything into the mix now. I mean, jeez. Kumar Rocker. Oh, my. I mean, I'm happy with the pick. Don't get me wrong. I really like the player. Really liked him coming out of the draft last year. But at 3 overall, oh, my. Kip Fagg, the guy who does all the scouting for the Rangers, head of their minor league scouting, head of their prospect scouting, all that. He puts together the Rangers draft pretty much every year. Chris Young is in charge of that now, with John Daniels moving to more of a vice president type of role, president of baseball ops, etc. But wow, I mean, they've gotten everything right so far as on the board. But I did not see Kumar Rocker here. I didn't even see him in the top 10. Maybe this is what. Okay, I have an idea. Okay, so my idea anyway is Kumar Rocker signs for a lot less than slot value, rebuilds gets some of that money he lost after not signing with the Mets last year. He says, "Thank you very much. I appreciate you signing me or drafting me at number 3 overall. I'll take $2 million less than slot value." He gets, $5 million, $3 million, whatever that would end up being. And then the Rangers, of course, after signing Simeon and Seager, don't have their next couple of picks. Maybe in the 4th round they steal somebody with some of that extra money they have left over from the signing of Kumar Rocker. Now, the question is Kumar Rocker going to be willing to sign for that? Maybe. Well, they would have to get him cheap if he's going this high. There ain't no way he's going for slot value. Wow. Holy smokes. They must have already had a pre-draft deal worked out with him. Probably. That's what teams usually end up doing, cut deals. I mean, Kumar Rocker would help bolster their rotation issues going forward, especially if they decide to flip some of those pieces at the top end of the AAA level. They got a lot of a little bit older prospects right now that are on the cusp of making it to the major leagues. If, say, a couple of them are then flipped in a trade for a guy like Tyler Mahle, somebody who can eat some innings for them, that can still be around this team for 6-7 years. Maybe they do something like that. Trade in some of those pieces. Holy smokes. Oh, my. Appreciate you guys joining us. If you're just joining us for the first time, hit that subscribe button. We really do appreciate it. I'm definitely going to do a video on Kumar Rocker tomorrow, just so you guys know. Whew. I am stunned at this pick. Peyton Graham, do I see him staying at short or moving to third or outfield? Let me see. Just got to collect myself after that stunner. Ay, ay, ay. I mean, just looking at the top 20 list from Baseball America, Rocker was ranked at number 20. Ain't no way he's signing for full slot value. Peyton Graham, Baseball America has him at number 32 this year on their big board. Looks like he's got very good all-around tools, lanky, 6'4". Yeah, he ain't going to stick at shortstop, sorry. Third base still might be a little lanky for him, so maybe a corner outfield spot. I mean, there are tall infielders, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think he's going to be able to stick at the major league level at those spots. He's 21, so teams are already going to want to push him through the minors as fast as they can. Are they going to really be willing to be patient and see if he can field those positions? Or are they going to try to get him to the big leagues as fast as they can, go ahead and teach him the left field, right field position and see what they can do? But oh my goodness. Pittsburgh Pirates due up next. They need pretty much everything. Here's Manfred.
In the 2022 MLB draft, the Pittsburgh Pirates select Tamar Johnson, a shortstop from Mays High School in Atlanta, Georgia.
Good pick for the Pirates there. Honestly, they need somebody kind of like the guy they just saw go, or they just traded away a couple of years ago, in Adam Frazier, somebody with a really good, strong hit tool. He is definitely not sticking at shortstop, though. He will probably play second base. They do have a good second base prospect already in-house, but when you're at the top of the draft, you take the best player available as often as you possibly can. Good pick here for the Pirates. I like this. I think Ben Cherington is the GM now in Pittsburgh, doing a nice job rebuilding that organization. Ay. I'm still recovering from the Kumar rocker. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I'm just, wow. Puts on the Pirates jersey in tears. See, this is what baseball should have been doing all along for their draft. If we draft Graham, it's below slot, absolutely, but I don't think you need to go that far below slot. If I'm picking for the Marlins, though, I want Lee. I want somebody who's going to join this core, not somebody who's going to be coming on in 4 or 5 years and may never get there. I want Brooks Lee if I'm a Marlins fan. The other players just don't fit your timeline. I mean, Graham might because he's a little bit older, but he slots in more as a corner outfielder. Give me Lee. Finally catching my breath anyway. That was unbelievable. Kumar rocker at 3. Holy smokes. You got to wonder if the Rangers are going to end up making a trade for one of those competitive balance picks. Go for some of that extra pool money, etc. Try to get another top prospect later on. Don't be surprised if you see a name tumble on this draft board. Maybe you see a guy like Elijah Green end up tumbling to, say, like pick 20, something like that because of signing issues or something like that. Every year we see 1 or 2 guys fall that far. Oh, my. I mean, I thought if they were going to try to save money, they might go with Jace Young. I mean, he was, Jace Young is a lighter version of his brother, essentially. Very similar power. 22 would fit the timeline of the Rangers. But Kumar rocker, wow. Okay, I'm shaking it off now. Tamar Johnson, 70 hit tool, the best hitter in this class, bar none, not close. Let's check in on what the Baseball America has to say about him. 5'8", 194 shortstop that probably moves to second base at the next level once he physically rounds out. Probably one of the most advanced pure hitters to come out since Joe Mauer in 2001. Capable of turning around mid-90s velocity, shows 60 grade power to pull. He's able to go the other way with the off-speed stuff for a soft single if he needs to. Top hitter on the showcase circuit, consistently perform no matter the level of competition. Excellent bat-to-ball skills, excellent approach at the plate, impressive pitch recognition. Basically sounds like the bat is there and ready to go. The question will be where he ends up sticking in the infield? Will it be at second base, or do they end up having to move him around elsewhere? Kind of reminds me a little bit of Altuve, the way he stands up there. Let's see, did they announce him as a second baseman? If they did, that'll be the highest drafted second baseman in Major League Baseball draft history. What's your comparison of Brooks Lee? My comparison, he reminds me of Miguel Tejada or Nomar Garciaparra. I mean, he was drafted a couple years ago by the Giants, but I don't know. I think the hit tool is better than Nomar Garciaparra's ever was. Miguel Tejada, I don't see Miguel Tejada in him, though, either. Maybe I don't want to say Corey Seager. Trying to think of a tall shortstop besides Corey Seager that's playing right now. I mean, we just saw O'Neill of the Pirates, of course, start to come onto the big leagues as far as a bigger level taller shortstop with that kind of a power potential. But the hit tool, Tejada's hit tool is very good. I like the hit tool for him. I think he might have a combination of Miguel Tejada as far as the hit with maybe the physical size of a Nomar, but better, if that makes sense. I don't like either one on their own as a comparison for him.
Turn on the ball, hit for power.
Looks like they're showing around Tamar Johnson a little bit more. Up to the 5th pick here, Washington Nationals to make the selection. Really excited about that Diamondbacks outfield of the future. Drew Jones, Alek Thomas, and Corbin Carroll. Clear the way now. Get David Peralta out of there. Get what you can. Every Rangers reporter on my phone right now is a little bit freaked out by what they've done. Everybody's saying either they got their 1-2 of the future or they swung and missed big with this top pick. But I think this is more about saving money here. After losing that slot value for their 2nd and 3rd pick with the signing of Simeon and Seager, maybe they get the top pitching prospect they wanted in this draft so high up. Because I could understand why Kumar Rocker might be considered the top pitching prospect, but maybe they save that money and get the best hitter they want in the 4th round with their savings they get here. But it is a gamble. Appreciate you guys joining us. In commercial break right now anyway. In the mock draft anyway, the Nationals were projected to go with Elijah Green, and with the prospect of them losing Juan Soto after he declined that 15-year, $440 million deal, maybe they go after another outfielder. This Elijah Green would pretty much fit the mold of a Juan Soto type of player, at least the way they thought of him in the draft, or the way they viewed him as a minor league prospect for them. Everybody always was more about Robles for them. But who turned out to be the better major leaguer? Juan Soto. Maybe they're hoping they can catch lightning in a bottle twice here and go with Elijah Green. I think you have to go outfield prospect here if you're the Nationals. I mean, you did lose Trey Turner in a trade to the Dodgers, of course, so you could go with Brooks Lee, but I think Elijah Green is probably makes the most sense after you lost Bryce Harper and now you're about to lose Juan Soto in a trade. I think you use that trade to get to be able to get whatever best pieces you can, and I just think the Elijah Green possibility, the upside of him, might make the most sense here. What do you guys think? Do you think Elijah Green, Brooks Lee? Who do you think the pick should be? Hmm. I don't believe with the analysis that we're getting on some of these picks. It's like nobody's paying attention to what's going on. I mean, they're just basically regurgitating what the draft prospectus tells them about the prospect. Tell me why they're making the pick. Only one that made sense or that they actually did any research on so far is the Diamondbacks, where they have that elite outfield now. 3 outfielders to go out there. Two picks for the Nationals tonight, 5th and 45th. Some Nationals fans out there watching the draft live. Here's Manfred. I'm guessing Elijah Green.
Pick in the 2022 MLB draft, the Washington Nationals select Elijah Green.
Hey, I got one finally.
From IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. The Miami Marlins have the next pick. Elijah Green, 6'3", 225-pound specimen, one of the most dynamic athletes baseball scouts have encountered in a long time.
And as I mentioned, he probably would have been a first-round pick or first overall pick 10 years ago. But the way teams evaluate the draft is a lot different now than they did even 10 years, even 5 years ago. But Elijah Green is all about raw power. A lot of swing and miss in his game. If he's able to accommodate more walks into his repertoire, if he's able to make a little bit more contact, maybe he could eventually become the next big thing for the Washington Nationals. All right, let's get some information here on Elijah Green. Rangers and Nationals were believed to be in on the same players. Texas was believed to be in on Elijah Green. Of course, they opted to go the other route. With the contract news of Juan Soto, Elijah Green is probably the best, was projected to go here. Best shot of being a superstar caliber player at this level of the draft. College bats, Brooks Lee and Jacob Berry might have made more sense, but the upside of Green is the reason for the selection. Looking at Elijah Green himself, coming from the IMG Academy from Florida, one of the most dynamic scouts, player scouts I've seen in a long time, son of 10-year NFL tight end Eric Green. A lot of physicality there, 6'3", 214, and he's only 18 and a half years old. Lots of power and strength, and he will still continue to fill out. Right-handed hitter, ability to drive the ball out of the ballpark at any time or any place. He's able to turn in 70 run grades at times. He's not necessarily raw at the plate, but does have a lot of swing and miss. He can be caught off guard by a bunch of breaking balls, a lot of swing and miss as a result of that. He also misses against velocity. But if he's able to make those alterations, maybe Just maybe he could be a superstar. He has enough speed for center field right now, but will likely begin his career elsewhere. He needs to refine his routes if he wants to stick in center and long term. He's has a corner outfielder's body plus arm that will profile nicely in a corner outfield spot. So there's Elijah Green for you going to the Nationals.
Academy, obviously, it's the best tend to go there. The athleticism is always played.
Jonathan Mayo, giving you some of the rundown on Elijah Green.
Not plus is that hit tool. Harold mentioned the swing and miss. I think he answered some of those questions this spring against pretty good competition that cemented him as.
Looks like he's got really good tools, except for that hit tool. If he's able to correct those swing and miss issues, maybe the Nationals have that superstar they want. Marlins are due up. Anthony, who you think? You think they're going to try to save money? I don't think they're going to go that below a slot with Graham. Or do you think they're going to go with Lee? I'm going to go with Lee all the way. What do you guys think? Don't be afraid. Join that chat. Let us know who you think is going to be the number 6 pick here to Miami. My money's on Brooks Lee. Advanced hitter. Fits in nicely with the age group of the Marlins' top prospects right now. Probably would go straight into Double-A, honestly, as a bat. See if he can polish up things there and move on to Triple-A, maybe even break into the big leagues next year. Here's Manfred.
To the commissioner we go. With the 6th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Miami Marlins select Jacob Berry,
Jacob Berry
from LSU.
There we go.
Chicago Cubs have the next pick.
Jacob Berry, a 6-foot.
A little bit surprising from my perspective, but let's take a look at Jacob Berry. He's the 8th best prospect in this class, more of a third base, first base prospect. 6 foot 215, 21 years old. Good hit and power numbers. Does not run very well, does not field very well either. The question will be is if he can end up sticking at third base. Dynamic switch hitter who should come off the board early. Yes, we know that. Analytics departments will appreciate Berry's plate discipline as he's walked more times than he's struck out. Very effective as far as like loading and timing his swing. Tends to put more lift from the left side than the right. Does more damage on the left side. Most switch hitters usually do more damage on that left side. Has the ability to level off his swing from the right side on fastballs up in the zone. More of a contact hitter by the sounds of it. Power, in-game power has yet to really get there. Sounds like he's probably going to end up at first base. And then, of course, the one thing you don't want to see him turn into is a DH. Not that there's anything wrong with that now that both leagues now have the designated hitter, but you really don't want to clog that up with a young guy. You want to eventually give that spot to one of your older aging players that can't play the field anymore. I mean, if his hit tool is that good, awesome. That should work out to be a great pick for them. But, I mean, this seems more in the line of players that they've taken risks on as far as failed prospects from other organizations. Thinking of Jesus Aguilar, that type of player. Jim Callis is up.
Andrew Vaughn. How about that? We can have
Andrew Vaughn. Switch hitting Andrew Vaughn.
I think it's the best combination of hitting ability, power, and plate discipline in college baseball. And I know there's some question about the defense position. Third base can be rough. Maybe the outfield. Maybe he's first base. But Tony was just talking about his work ethic. It's not just hitting. There's a lot of guys who like to hit, don't necessarily work on the other faces of the game. And Jacob has said he knows people knock his
highest drafted player since Alex Bregman
so
out of LSU.
The best defensive player he can. And again, even if he winds up at first base, I love the combination you get here with the bat, with the power, with plate discipline, and that bat plays at first base, that bat plays at DH, wherever it is. They got one of the best bats in the draft at number 6.
So Kim Ng and her group with the Marlins drafting Jacob Berry.
Kim
6
Ng
overall.
making her first pick
Recap your
in the
first
draft.
6 picks of the draft.
There's your first 6 picks of the night. Jackson Holiday goes 1 to Baltimore. Drew Jones goes 2 to Arizona. 3, Kumar Rocker to Texas. Tamar Johnson, 4 to Pittsburgh. 5, Elijah Green to the Nationals. And 6, is Jacob Berry. Brooks Lee falling a little bit more than I would have thought. Kevin Pareda, we'll call him Pareda at the moment anyway. Yeah. I'm a little bit surprised they went with Jacob Berry. I mean, I get that he's an older shortstop prospect, but I mean, Jacob Berry is 21 as well, so I don't know. They've obviously scouted him a lot more than I have, so I'll leave it up to their judgment, but I think that's a little bit of a whiff on their part. Maybe Cam Collier would have made more sense if you're looking for more of a third baseman, as I think he probably fits there long term. And he's only 17 years old. The only thing I didn't like about Cam Collier is that he doesn't fit the timeline of the team right now. Got to think Brooks Lee, Cam Collier, and Pareda are probably your top options here with the Cubs. Cubs have Wilson Contreras. Maybe they go Pareda here. Oh, they are interviewing Kumar Rocker.
I got to work after that, and then we're here today, and so it was a beautiful process. I'm excited. Let's do it.
If I'm a Ranger fan, I'm fired up right now. Kumar Rocker drafted 3rd overall to Texas. Congratulations, Kumar, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
For the Cubs, maybe they go the other route with the other catcher. What was his name? Susek later on. I think he's ranked number 13 or something like that, or 11. Maybe they go with Susek instead of Pareda and take him as the top or as their top pick here. Maybe it could be an underslot pick. Maybe. Here's the pick.
Draft. The Chicago Cubs select Cade Horton, a right-handed
Cade
pitcher
Horton.
from the University of Oklahoma.
Another pitcher.
The Minnesota Twins have the next pick.
Oh, the Jacob Berry pick?
This young man, Cade Horton, saw his draft stock rise.
Jacob Berry as an underslot value? Maybe. I mean, this is about the slot where you would have seen Jacob Berry go with guys like Brooks Lee still on the board. I don't think they would have had a pre-draft agreement already worked out for this slot, as this is about the area where he would have gone anyway. So I don't think the Marlins are going to save much, if at all, with this pick. Maybe it's just going to be right at slot, but not under slot. But I think they could have done the same thing with either one of the other options that they could have gone with, Collier or Lee. But the pick here, Cade Horton going to the Cubs, rebuilding that rotation. Cade Horton ranked number 23 on the big board according to Baseball America. Another big reach here, so probably an underslot signing by the Cubs. Makes a lot of sense for them. He's 21 years old, plus fastball anyway, and good offerings in the curveball, slider, and changeup. Control is a little bit iffy at times. Still is a little bit of a hitter. He has had Tommy John surgery. In June, he pitched 95 miles an hour, got hit upwards of 98 with high spin. Harder slider in the mid 80s, got up into the into the 90s late last season. Slower curveball around 80 is above average offering as well. Doesn't use the changeup much, but is in the upper 80s. Has only pitched 53 innings. Ouch. This is a lot about projection, and he's 21 years old. I worry about this pick if I'm a Cubs fan. I don't know. Minnesota Twins are on the clock. Pick is in.
Watch the game footage against Mississippi and watch the hitters' reactions. They're dumbfounded. And I talked to their coaches, too. They felt like they would have.
MLB.com apparently had him as the 24th best prospect. I think the injury issues plus where he was ranked, this is clearly going to be about saving money for the Cubs. Now, as you guys have, if you've watched any of my lives over the past, month or two, you guys will know I'm originally from South Dakota, spent a lot of time up there, and now down in Texas, so I'm a little bit of a Twins fan. Very interested to see which direction they go. Jim Callis on the analysis of the pick of Horton.
Yeah, there's not a lot of track record because he didn't pitch last year coming out of Tommy John surgery. But I thought the 5 starts he had in the postseason starting the Big 12 tournament, to me, he was the best college pitcher available in a year when most of the best college pitchers got hurt or at least had some kind of physical question. And, we were talking, where's the first pitcher going to go? Is he going to go 10? Is he going to go 12? Well, the Cubs took him at 7, and I don't think this is a reach. I don't think this is a shock. But,
it is a reach.
I think the Cubs just got the best college pitcher in the draft, even if he doesn't have an extensive resume. And I remember Harold loving Kate Horton, talking about him in 2020. If he would have been signable out of high school,
it's an absolute reach just because of where he was ranked and the slot value and all those kinds of things. But if this is the guy your organization really has the most faith in, of course you go for the guy, but you're also going to do it at a below slot deal. I mean, that's not an argument here. That's obviously going to happen here. If it doesn't, I don't know what the Cubs would be doing giving their full slot. They should turn around and reinvest some extra savings around and see what they can do. Twins, they've got Buxton, of course, right now. I'm curious to see what direction they decide to go with this pick. Brooks Lee is out there. He's an older prospect. Do they go younger with Cam Collier? Maybe a Jace Young? The Sano thing hasn't worked out. They've traded away Josh Donaldson, so they have some room on that third base side. Correa is going to be there at least for this year, but will he be there long term? I don't know. He's probably going to opt out of that deal with Minnesota at the end of the season. If they do end up inking him to a 10-year, $300+ million deal, maybe they go a different direction. But for right now, they can't really bank on that happening. What do you guys think? Which direction do you see the Twins going? They need some pitching. Pitching that they've developed over the past few years hasn't panned out to the level they would have hoped. They need a third baseman. Long-term answer there anyway. They got Luis Arraez, Max Kepler out there. They need somebody to hit for average in this lineup. So maybe a Brooks Lee slides over to third base. Cam Collier maybe. Another third base option. Jace Young, maybe if you had worked out a deal with him. This probably still would have been the range for him, but I don't know if you would have saved much money before the draft, but now maybe if you're talking to his agent, you can work out a deal. Say, hey, you're the third best out of these 3 options, but we'll draft you because of how close it is. If you take below slot, I don't know. I'm curious to see which direction they go. If they go the younger prospect, that tells me that they believe they probably could sign Carlos Correa this offseason and keep him on the roster for years to come. If they go Brooks Lee, maybe they see that they need some more immediate help at the major league level. I don't know. I think they could go either direction. I could also see this flip side of the argument saying, well, now that if you don't believe Carlos Correa is going to be sticking around, maybe you go the young route. But you have Byron Buxton signed to a 7-year deal. Your window's probably in the next 7 years to compete. Guardians have taken a step back, trading away some pieces. They're going to have to do that again with Bieber in the next few years. Jose Ramirez re-up there for a number of years, so at least be able to field a competitive team. But you guys tell me which direction you think they go to. Let's do C for Collier, J for Young, and L for Lee. Which one do you guys think? Looks like we're coming back from commercial break here. I know I'm going with either Collier or Lee. If I had to pick between the two, probably Lee. Probably Lee. Got 3 picks tonight, 48 and 68 after this one.
Pick is in. We're about to go to the podium where Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred is about to introduce all of us to the 8th overall selection. Moments ago, Kane Horton went to the Cubs at number 7.
Here's Manfred.
Commissioner Manfred now.
With the 8th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Minnesota Twins select Brooks Lee,
There we go.
shortstop from Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. The Kansas City Royals have the next pick.
Brooks Lee, a switch-hitting shortstop.
Good pick by the Twins, taking the best player on the board. A little bit lower upside anyway than Collier or Young. Brooks Lee, though, probably steps in to a major league roster in the next year or two if that bat plays up as the way it has. Curious to see how quickly the Twins will try to move him along, as they're right now first place in their division, but they really haven't gotten much out of that third base spot. Gio Urshela hadn't been able to give him much of anything, and they traded away Donaldson to get Urshela. Just watching him field balls. Doesn't really look comfortable at the shortstop spot. I think he could fit nicely at third base, though. Plays a little bit too upright, I think. Just watching those few clips anyway. 65 hit grade. Exactly what the Twins seem to value over the last several years. And when you got the power of Byron Buxton behind you in that lineup, maybe you could lead it off with a Rise and then Lee, and then Buxton's your 3-hitter. All righty. Kansas City Royals on the clock next. They have basically turned the corner as far as choosing to go down the full rebuild route, sending away Carlos Santana earlier this offseason, making room for their top prospects on their active roster. A lot of their top prospects are starting to get a little bit up there in age, so they go a little bit older prospect or they stick with somebody a little bit younger. They were mocked to go with Gavin Cross, an outfielder from Virginia Tech, from a couple of different sources anyway. College bat anyway. This was more of a dart throw according to the mock draft. They could go a number of different ways. Jace Young makes a lot of sense, they said. They have gone college bats. They had success so far with Andrew Benintendi this season. Pareda, the catcher's still there. They have Salvador Perez, but he's, of course, getting much older. What do you guys think? Do they go catcher with Pareda? Do they go Collier, Young, Cross? Do they go pitcher? I think this is too early for a pitcher, but we've already seen 2 of them go in the top 10. I would have said absolutely not. Maybe 1 goes in the top 10 total, but we're not even through the first 10, and 2 have already come off the board. Everybody shakes hands in the Royals draft room there. Collier, Pareda, Young, and Cross, the top 4 players left on the board for Baseball America. Here comes Manfred.
Podium we go.
Hey, Clayton. Good name.
The 9th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Kansas City Royals select Gavin Cross, an outfielder
Gavin Cross.
from Virginia Tech. The Colorado
Baseball
Rockies
America got that one right.
pick.
Hey, Clayton, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate you joining us. Gavin Cross goes to the Royals at 9. Rockies were originally projected to go after Jace Young, but Collier's still on the board. Maybe they go that route instead of Young. Apparently, the Rockies have also scouted catcher Daniel Susac as well, so maybe this is a spot for Daniel Susac. What do you guys think? Do you think they go catcher with Pareda? Or do you think they go with the guy they've got a lot of track record with, as far as scouting anyway, and Susac? They probably didn't think Pareda would still be on the board at their spot, honestly. You think they go with Susac? Okay. Might have heard of you before. Might have pitched almost a perfect game the other day. I already said hi, like 4 times. Jonathan Mayo to break down the Gavin Cross pick.
Across the bat, the way he hits. I see a lot of our friends, Sean Casey.
Well, I love Sean Casey, but Gavin Cross is a much more athletic Sean Casey, if that's the case.
Okay.
He's an above-average runner. He's going to play in the outfield. I understand what you're saying with the bat. He has a chance to hit some power. He's answered some questions about some swing and miss in his game. Nothing too overwhelming, but
all right now. We've said hi.
I think he probably moves over to a corner when all is said and done. But you can send him out as a center fielder because he runs well enough. He's got that above-average arm that you guys were talking about. So we're talking about a guy who was at a very good Virginia Tech program and was one of their best hitters, and he can do everything across the board.
Yeah, he was outstanding. Fish of the year with a 328 average this year, 17 home runs. He was 12 for 12 in stolen bases. Sean Casey wasn't stealing 12 bags. So he was not stealing 12 bags. At least if he did, he would caught like at least 10 of them, right? Our guy, Sean Casey. The Colorado Rockies are up next at number 10. A year ago, they had the 8th overall selection, Benny Montgomery, the outfielders who they selected. It's time to find out who they're taking tonight.
Here we go.
With the 10th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Colorado Rockies select Gabriel Hughes, a right-handed pitcher.
Gabriel Hughes, another pitcher in the top 10.
The New York Mets have the next pick.
That's stunning. When you actually retire, yeah.
20 years of age.
Gabriel Hughes out of Gonzaga goes 10 overall to the Rockies. Pitchers have always had a tough time in Colorado just because of the ability to grip the ball. All the movement pitches are a little bit tougher to throw in altitude. It's been that way for decades. 22 on the big board. 6'4", 220, 21 years old, or about to be 21 years old anyway. 60 grade fastball, 55 slider, 50 changeup, 50 control. He began his career with Gonzaga as a hitter and pitcher, but obviously his future was on the mound. Posted a 3.23 ERA in 61 innings over 10 starts, striking out 67, but with erratic control, walking 30 last year. During this year, made impressive steps forward with his command, worked himself into position to be the first pitcher selected. Obviously, he was not. He'll be just 20 years old on draft day, about to be 21. Works fastball slider primarily. After sitting 91, 93 last year, in this year it's gone up to 93, 94, touching at times 97. Command looks much better this spring. Cut down his walk rate significantly. 40% whiff rate, which is fantastic. Slider has wipeout potential at best, but isn't consistent enough to be considered a plus pitch. Low 80s offering currently with the slider, so maybe he can get a little bit more pace on it. Misses a lot of bats, etc. Gets a lot of weak contact ground ball. Sits in the low 80s with more of his off-speed stuff. Combination of size, youth stuff, performance in the spring. Lets you check the potential as a number 4 starter, and should benefit from a down college pitching class on draft day as well. A number 4 starter, that scares me a lot. I'm guessing because they worry about the command possibly having issues at the next level. Maybe they don't believe in. Maybe they don't believe in the command projections anyway. They don't believe he's fixed those issues. The Mets are on the clock here at number 11. All right, come on now. That's enough. Mets have 4 picks. They're at 11, 14, 52, and 75. Remember, after not signing Kumar Rocker last year, they moved back 1 pick in this draft and still get that slot money. If I'm the Mets, I'd probably go catching route here. The rest of the division has really good catchers locked in. I'm going to go with probably Pareda as the pick. Pareda is indeed the pick. Sorry about that. You guys can comment all you want. I don't mind what y'all say for the most part. Just keep it friendly, and we're good. I don't use moderators often, but every now and again when the chat group gets pretty big, I might use one here and there. But you guys are more than welcome to banter back and forth. Just keep it classy, and we're good. have some fun, and enjoy the draft. All right. Sorry about that. Now, as far as the pick of Kevin Pareda, let's give him some of his due. Projected originally to go up as high as number 3 to the Rangers, goes all the way down to 11 here to the Mets. 6'1", 210, 21 years old, a little bit older of a prospect anyway, out of Georgia Tech. One of the best power hitters in this class anyway, especially at the catcher position, with the Phillies having JT Realmuto for the next couple of years anyway. Travis d'Arnaud for the Braves. The Mets need to have their catching locked up for the future. The power hitting catcher should slide nicely into that lineup over the next year or two. He's going to have to learn how to handle a pitching staff, as far as a major league quality pitching staff anyway. Entered in the draft class of 2020 as the number 48 prospect, but decided to go ahead and go the college route. Seems like that route has indeed paid off for him. 65 hit tool, 60 power, 45 run, and 45 field with a 45 arm. Still needs to work on that behind the plate, or his abilities behind the plate. The bat seems to be almost ready for major league level talent anyway, but it's going to take some time for that glove to catch up. So let's hopefully see if he can do so. Who do you guys think is going to be the 12th pick here? Top 2 names left on the board are Collier and Young, obviously. Susac is the other catcher that's on the board. Tigers already signed Javi Baez to a long deal, so they don't really need a shortstop right now, but maybe they move Baez over to second as they go with a younger guy. So I could see Collier possibly being the pick here at third base. Candelario is not going to be long for third base anyway with the Tigers. But I think they could go either Collier or Young, probably most likely. They already have a good young catcher in Barnhart back there. They invested in Torkelson at first base. I'm going to go probably Young because he can play either third or second. But I think Collier could be the pick as well. If they want to go younger, they go Collier. If they go a little bit older, I think they go Young. I'm still going to go with Young, though. What do you guys think? Type C for Collier, J for Young, S for Susac. Which one do you think? Mets got a good one there in Pareda at number 11. They will be back on the clock at number 14. Could double up on a couple of people here. Maybe they are able to swing back around and get Collier, Young, or Susac with their next pick. Be interesting to see if they take 2 catchers with their top 2 picks. Rocker telling the Texas media that they came as a package deal now to the Texas Rangers. All seems to work out. Very entertaining drafts. Had your big surprise with the Texas Rangers at 3. Drew Jones, the top overall prospect in almost everybody's book, goes 2 to Arizona. And the Orioles get their shortstop of the future in Jackson Holliday at number 1 overall. That Pareda draft party was pumped up to go to the Mets. Instant celebration from everybody on that couch there. 3 pitchers, though, go in the top 10. In a draft that did not have top-end pitchers at the top of the draft. A little bit surprising that they go 3 of them in the top 10. Wow. Told you guys, baseball draft is a lot different than any other draft you're going to watch, as these players are going to be in the minor leagues for a couple of years, most likely. Some of them may make the jump to a major league roster within a year. If you're a relief pitcher, occasionally you'll see one that's drafted in the summer make it to the big leagues around September if you're a relief pitcher. Every now and again you'll see one like that. We're going to get rounds 1 and 2 today. They'll get 80 picks done tonight, followed by rounds 3 through 10 tomorrow, and 11 through 20 on Tuesday. Still on commercial break anyway. Surprise of the draft, though, by far is Kumar Rocker. Wow. Their next pick will not be until round 4. That slot pick is only going to be $560,000, so you can kind of see why saving a little bit of money might make sense for them, and they get probably their second choice in last year's draft. If Leiter had been taken number 1, I imagine they probably would have gone with Kumar Rocker at number 2. But the Rangers, of course, could probably still deal some of their bullpen arms that they have right now and possibly get a compensation pick. Question will be is if they can get it done in time, as those compensation picks will be done tonight. Well, you guys tell me, what do you guys think the Tigers are going to do here at 12? Got a couple of top 10 talents still on the board in Collier and Young. Catchers take some time to develop. Do they go with Susek? Catcher out of Arizona. Tigers have 2 picks today at 12 and 51. Here comes the commissioner.
We're about to find out who they take at 12.
With the 12th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Detroit Tigers select Jace Young, a second baseman from Texas Tech.
They go the older route.
The Los Angeles Angels have the next pick.
Good pick for the Tigers.
Jace Young, his brother Josh. He was the 8th overall pick in 2019 by the Rangers, also out of Texas Tech. He's mashing at AAA, by the way. He'll be in the big league someday playing third base. But Jace Young won.
Sorry, Greg Ansinger. Josh Young is injured right now. He is out until likely September. So, no, he is not mashing. But he certainly was before that. All right, let's get some information here on Jace Young. Jace, 6 foot 215, 21, almost 22 years old anyway. 60 hit tool, 60 power, 40 run, 45 field, and 50 arm anyway. Does have the bloodline, of course, with his brother Josh. He is a little bit younger. Left-handed bat, one of the best pure bats in the class. Old school approach at the plate in terms of hitting. Basically looking to hit the ball where it's pitched as opposed to just pull the ball every single time. Has power to all fields in his time at Texas Tech. Gap-to-gap approach will remain the same in pro ranks. Home run power should translate to the wood bat as well. Offensive setup is unique. Bat head pointed to the backstop, but as he loads, he gets more to a more natural hitting position. Has a tendency to swing too big or overswing. That's how it gets him in trouble anyway. However, the discipline has not been a problem, as he's walked 59 times compared to 42 strikeouts. Career high walk rate of 19.9%. Not a great defender, but is able to make the routine plays, making him an average accurate arm. Good baseball IQ. Makes good reads off the bat. To play first or to play second or third base. Most of the time he's played at second base, it sounds like. Good makeup for him as well. Good clubhouse leadership for Texas Tech. Good plate discipline and some power as well. Fast mover in the minor league system is projected. Should be in the top half of the first round, and he clearly was here. LA Angels are in need of a very good player here. They have nothing really going for them at the major league level. They've had the worst record in baseball since May 25th. I'm of the belief that they should go ahead and tear it down completely, get rid of Shohei Ohtani. In our chat last night that we had when we watched the Dodgers and Angels play, one of y'all mentioned that they should look to trade Mike Trout. Now, Trout is one of the most loyal guys ever in Major League Baseball history. I think if they lost every single game from now until the day he retires, I think he would have zero regrets about playing his entire career with the LA Angels. Now, would I be in that camp of being willing to do that? Absolutely not. I've already signed my contract for the money I want. I want to play for a winner. Baseball wants me to play for a winner. The only thing that's keeping me from being on a winning team is that I'm playing for the Los Angeles Angels. That's my mindset if I'm Mike Trout. But I don't believe they'll end up trading him. I think he's going to stay in the LA for years to come. But Ohtani is the guy I'd probably try to move at the deadline. The question is, the haul that would be required to make the move might be a little exorbitant at the deadline, so maybe this offseason look for it. Here's Manfred.
13th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Los Angeles Angels select Zach Neto, a shortstop from
Zach
Campbell
Neto,
University.
shortstop out of Campbell. Okay.
The New York Mets have the next
Angels
pick.
need literally everything. You go with the best player available on your board there. I mean,
In the house here in Los Angeles.
they've had a lot of top prospects come through their system and just haven't been able to make it at the big league level. Joe Adele, of course, was drafted by the LA Angels, was a top 5 prospect in all of Major League Baseball at one time. This year, he's actually hitting a respectable 250 average this year so far, but just hasn't really lived up to that lofty prospect status. So the Angels are hoping to regroup and see what they can do with the younger core. Zach Neto is the selection. Let's check in on him. He was the 16th best player on the board out of Campbell, 6 foot 185, 22 years old anyway. 55 hit tool, 55 power, 55 run, 50 field, and 60 on the arm. Big South Conference Player of the Year last year, hit 405. He also posted a 3.43 ERA as a reliever, but he's going to be a shortstop in the minor leagues anyway. He slashed another 304 this past year, had as many walks as strikeouts. A lot of pre-at-bat stuff that he does, a lot of hand movement, big leg kicks, so you wonder if they're going to kind of calm that thing down as he goes through the minors, make it a more streamlined approach. Despite all those moving parts, he's made his swing work through plenty of contact rate, more walks than strikeouts, 53 walks to 49 strikeouts. Shows only average raw power during batting practice, but he backspins the ball consistently. Good bat speed and barrel manipulation enough to so that scouts believe he'll have a little bit of raw power when he does eventually get his strength. Now, whether or not that comes into the game will depend on how that develops in the minors. His setup will need to be simplified against better competition. So far, Neto has been able to get by on ability alone. He's played all over the infield, but he's he's probably going to be a shortstop first for the Angels. As a pitcher, he threw 93 off the mound, but with a chance to stick on the left side of the infield, he's very much going to try there. Above average runner, solid athleticism, aggressive base stealer, 28 of 33 in his career. But it sounds like he's going to be a decent up-the-middle pick here for the Angels. They're hoping they can tone down that bat and get the most out of it. Next pick is the New York Mets again. The pick is in. This is the compensation pick for it being unable to sign Kumar Rocker last year. Kumar Rocker goes 3 this year to Texas. Still stunned by that even now. It's been almost, an hour since that pick was made or more, and I'm still stunned by it. For the Mets, though, do they go to Collier, who's still on the board? Do they go with Susek and double up on catching? If I'm them, I'd probably go with Collier here. He doesn't really fit the competitive window now, but maybe he'd be an interesting trade piece as they try to build around the team they have right now. With Cohen at the helm, you got to wonder how many years they're really going to be willing to let prospects grow and that kind of a thing. Or are they going to use them more for trade bait? So if I'm picking here for the Mets, I'm going to guess Collier all the way. Looks like Drew Jones has already agreed to a contract with the Arizona Diamondbacks, $8 million is the deal he ends up getting. The slot was selected, or was going to have 8.1 million signs for a hair under slot value. A little bit surprising. Probably lets them move a little bit of money around, kind of making it a little bit of a team-friendly deal. Makes nice with the Diamondbacks front office by allowing them to reappropriate that money, and I'm sure if they don't use that money up, that they will circle back to him and finally have him sign on the dotted line. Pick is in here for the Mets. Let's see who they go with. If I'm the Mets, I'm going with Collier here. Not close. Only other real option would be a pitcher, Brock Porter, possibly. According to Baseball America, he was the top prospect as far as pitching on the in this draft. What do you guys think? Is it going to be Collier or Porter? I'm going with Collier. Maybe they could go pitching and go Porter. No team ever has enough pitching. Looks like we're about to have Manfred come out here.
And Kevin Parada, the catcher, they're up next on the clock inside their draft room, picking at number 14. Plenty of star power available. Cam Collier, who many believe was a top 5 talent, has not been drafted as of yet. We have no idea who the pick is, but you see 11-14.
Here he comes.
Who will they go down? To the podium we go.
With the 14th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the New York Mets select Jet Williams,
shortstop.
from Rockwell Heath High School in Heath, Texas. The San Diego Padres have the next pick.
They go a little bit off the board there.
He's 5'8", 175 pounds, considered one of the best hitters on last summer's showcase circuit. Followed it up with an excellent 2022 year. As you see a little video glitch, but they're still partying. He might be the shortest of all the top prospects in this draft class. Dan O'Dowd, what do you think?
He was actually mocked here by Baseball America. So Baseball America getting this one right. Let's see what they say about this pick. Slot value of about $4 million. Brock Porter was one of the most consistent pairings in a lot of these drafts for the Mets, but they decided to go with Jet Williams. He was 15th best player on the board originally. He's 5'8", 185 out of Mississippi State, or at least he's committed to Mississippi State. He's 18 years old, about to turn 19. Has 55 hit tool, 50 power, 60 run, 55 field, and 50 arm. Consistency is what best describes his performance over the last 2 years. Just ask any Major League Baseball manager what they would like to or like most out of any player. Consistency. Stands upright, hands close to his chest, strides to the ball, draws hands back to make prior to the contact. Plus bat speed is eye-opening, resulting in higher exit velocities off the bat. And in case you're wondering, it's where all about that's where basically the game has moved to, is exit velocities. Good runner. Defensively has plus speed, quickness, reads, and instincts give the scouts everything they look for in a center fielder. So maybe if things don't work out at short, maybe he could flex out to the outfield. Mets do have some openings out there, or at least they will in the next couple of years. Marte was signed to a 4-year deal, with Jet Williams being the draft pick here at 18 years old. Maybe by the time he's around 2022, maybe you see him breaking into the majors. Lindor is locked up long-term for the Mets, so I don't expect him to play much shortstop at the big league level for the Mets. But it sounds like scouts were torn on whether or not he was going to end up sticking at the shortstop spot anyway, or being flexed out to the outfield. Doesn't have much physical upside left in him, though, but does have a lot of tools, and the package that Williams brings is one of consistency, and so that's what the evaluators are banking on here. San Diego Padres are on the clock next. Padres, of course, hit an absolute home run in that trade for Fernando Tatis. In that trade for James Shields all those years ago. They got a lot of good young talent. International draft has worked kindly for them. They've been very willing to move prospects both in and out of the organization over the past couple of years. A.J. Preller, not one to sit around and wait for things to work. He's going to make things happen and make it work one way or the other. Just to kind of recap your draft so far, Jackson Holliday, shortstop, goes number 1 overall to the Orioles. Diamondbacks at 2 take Drew Jones and seem to have already agreed to a contract. At 3, Texas surprised everybody and goes Kumar Rocker. At 4, Tamar Johnson, the best hitter in the draft class. Shortstop, probably going to go second base, goes to Pittsburgh. At 5, Washington goes all upside with Elijah Green. 6, Miami goes with Jacob Berry, more of a first base DH, third base prospect. Second pitcher in the top 10, Cade Horton, goes 7 to Chicago with limited injury history and that kind of a thing. We'll see how he does there. At 8, the Twins get Brooks Lee, good advanced college bat. At 9, Kansas City went Gavin Gross, outfielder. At 10, a third pitcher in the top 10 in a draft class with few good pitchers in it. We saw them take Gabriel Hughes out of Gonzaga. At 11, we saw Kevin Pareda, the catcher, who was projected originally to go all the way up as high as number 3 to Texas, goes number 11 to the Mets. Mets save a little bit of money, I believe, with the Jet Williams draft pick at number 14 anyway, to be able to make things work for Pareda at 11. At 12, the Tigers take Jace Young out of Texas Tech, the brother of Josh Young. So we'll see if he's able to live up to his brother's legacy. At 13, the Angels go with Zach Neto. They really need everything. Good hitter, good slugging percentage as well, 769 this year out of the Big South Conference. But he's going to have to refine that swing. We'll see if the Angels are able to get that done. And at 14, we just saw the Mets draft Jet Williams. Padres, again, are on the clock. So if you're just joining us, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll cover as much of all four sports as we can: MLB, NBA, NFL, and the NHL. So if you're just joining us for the first time, hit that like and subscribe button and follow us on Twitter at UpsideSN. First ever outdoor MLB draft is taking place in LA at All-Star Weekend. I mean, it looks awesome. They took their cues from the NFL, how they moved their draft outside, and it looks wonderful. They have just announced Freddie Freeman has been added to the All-Star roster, replacing Starling Marte. There was a tweet sent out by Ken Rosenthal earlier today that over 10% of the league has now been selected to play in the All-Star game. 10% of the league. That seems really high to me, but the more the merrier, I guess, at this point. A lot of people opting not to play or injured or taking it as a precautionary day. Garrett Cole, we just saw pitch in the game before the All-Star break, so I doubt he's going to play in the game either. Not even sure if he was selected, honestly. I have to go back and check. The pick is in here for the Padres. Mock draft had them going Justin Crawford, an outfielder out of Las Vegas. Let's see which direction they end up going here. With Collier off the board, maybe they go catching prospects, although they've had a number of different catching prospects in their system over the past 3 years. They traded for another prospect, at least in the past, of A.J. Preller and Jose Alfaro from the Marlins. They seem set currently at the big league level at the catcher spot, but maybe they could use a guy like Susek there. Collier is still on the board, third base prospect. He is young. He's not going to fit the timeline of their current prospects, so you got to wonder, maybe they go pitching with Brock Porter. Cam Collier to me sounds like a good pick, but again, it doesn't fit their window. And here comes Manfred.
The podium we go.
With the 15th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the San Diego Padres select Dylan Lesko, a right-handed pitcher from Buford High School in Buford, Georgia.
High school pitcher. Okay. I mean, they got decent pitching this year, but they did not have good pitching last year at all. All the pitching options that they had in their starting rotation just never worked. This year, though, they seem to have a plentiful supply of it. Just wait till next year, and it'll probably be the opposite again. But let's dig in on Dylan Lesko. He was the 13th ranked player anyway, right behind Porter, according to Baseball America. Stands at 6'3", committed to Vanderbilt. So I'll be wondering if they're able to actually sign him. This is a first-round pick, so maybe they're able to convince him to sign, maybe go a little bit above slot. Most pitchers that end up going to Vanderbilt usually try to go there just because of the experience you gain. And if you're able to compete and perform well, which I believe most pitchers consider themselves very confident and think they'll do so, maybe he thinks he could be a number 1 pick if he goes to Vanderbilt, gets a little extra seasoning. But right now, His fastball is a 70, curveball sits at a 60, changeup at a 70, control at a 60. Arguably one of the best pitching prospects this year. Had a .35 ERA over 60 innings and had 112 strikeouts. He was coming into the year, he was the consensus top pick anyway. Had some health issues, required Tommy John. And that's kind of where he's at right now. So he does have some injury issues going for him as well. So maybe he does actually sign with the Padres. Padres taking a little bit of a chance with his health. Alrighty. Look, good secondary offerings. Bugs Bunny changeup, double plus grades, one of the best changeups in the history of the industry, especially for a high school pitcher. Sells the pitch with a fastball arm speed with, let's see, curveball less consistent, also flashes plus at best. High spin rate on that breaking ball. Depth and hard finish when he breaks it off of a good one. All of this stuff comes together with clean arm action, highly polished delivery. One scout described as poetry in motion. Lesko is a standout athlete and a strong prospect as a shortstop and a hitter. If he didn't pitch, he still has some projection remaining to be in his frame. Injury clouds his draft stock, and Vanderbilt commit could make things tricky as well, but there's no doubt highest upside pitcher in the class. Kind of fits the way the organization has been run. All about upside for the Padres. He came over from the Rangers, who were all about upside at the time when A.J. Preller was there. We'll see if he ends up going there. Here comes Manfred. Guardians pick is next.
With the 16th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Cleveland Guardians select Chase DeLauter, an outfielder from James Madison University.
Chase DeLauter.
The Philadelphia.
Wow. Can you believe it? The Cleveland Guardians just invested in their outfield. They've had terrible outfield luck for years. They haven't invested much in it either. They never sign anybody for their outfield. Maybe this is the time that outfield will finally be addressed by the Guardians. Wow. All right. Let's check in on Chase DeLauter. Projected the 19th best player on the board according to Baseball America. 6'4", 235, bats left, throws left. He is almost 21 years old. 55 hit tool, 60 power, 60 run, 55 field, and 60 on his arm. Exploded onto the scene in 2021 with 9 home runs, 21 walks, 18 strikeouts in the Cape Cod League, hitting .298 with a slugging at .589. That performance with a wood bat combined for his gaudy numbers at James Madison has a loud set of physical tools. Scouts considering him one of the top outfield bats in the class. Scuffled out of the gate initially in a tough matchup against Florida State with a swing path looked steeper and stiffer than it did over the summer. Quickly found his form again and went on to hit .437 this year with an .828 slugging percentage. Seemed to have found some struggles and worked his way through it. That's one thing you look for in prospects. Are they able to overcome obstacles? Looks like he has already overcome some of those. Had 28 walks to 21 strikeouts. Had a broken left foot that ended his season after just 24 games. Very physical player, corner outfielder, surprisingly good runner for his size. Double plus runner at times during the 60-yard dash. Great speed, solid instincts. Believe he can at least start in center, but will probably move to the corners, of course. They worry about him being a small school hitter, basically meaning he didn't face much high-quality competition. However, during the Cape Cod League, played much better. Double-digit home runs last year for James Madison. Never played more than 26 games, so you got to worry about injury again. Should finish somewhere in the middle of the first round, and that's exactly where he goes here to the Cleveland Guardians.
Yeah, you can. And when you go to the Cape and you hit, I'm telling you what right now, everybody gets on your radar. Where was Peter Gammons when he was matching 9 home runs in those 34 games at the Cape?
Philadelphia Phillies on the clock next. The pick is in.
17, Dave Dombrowski and his crew getting set after the Cleveland Guardians just took Chase DeLauder. Now, a year ago, they took Andrew Painter,
Dave Dombrowski.
Right-hander, throws hard.
One pick tonight, 17th overall, after they lost their second and third round picks due to the Schwarber and Castellanos signings. Here comes Manfred.
With the 17th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Philadelphia Phillies select Justin Crawford, an outfielder.
Justin Crawford.
In Las Vegas, Nevada.
Justin Crawford, the son of Carl Crawford, goes 17 overall to the Philadelphia Phillies. Wow. Green Room has a nice round of applause for him. Wow.
Boston Red Sox and Dodgers. Justin Crawford, 6'3", 175 pounds, elite speed.
This is where Justin Crawford was believed to go right around this point in the draft to either the Padres or the Phillies. Phillies get him here.
42 games. Dan O'Dowd, a different type of player. When you say the comp is his father, I don't like that comp. What do you think?
I don't like it either. He's a lot taller than his father. His setup to hit is very similar to his dad. His flat plate swing is somewhat similar to his father. But I actually feel like there's some very projectable power in this young man as he begins to fill. I mean, I had Devon White on him. I think he's going to be an outstanding center fielder. He's got great instincts for the game. His speed, his game-changing speed.
All right, just to kind of give you some numbers on Justin Crawford, 6'3", 175, committed to Louisiana State. He's 18 years old, 55 hit tool, 45 power, 70 run, 60 field, and 50 arm. That's kind of the biggest reason for the draft here, is the ability to make contact and, of course, that speed. His ability to play center field as well is going to really help his draft stock. You've seen a number of poor hitting outfielders be drafted really high in the draft in the past, but with the speed that he has and the ability to make contact the way he does, I don't think he'll struggle at the plate as much as other hitters have in the past that match his draft profile. Good contact skills, 2-strike adjustments, widening his stance, all things that he probably learned from his dad, having to have a 2-strike approach. I do not believe that he's going to be Carl Crawford, though. I don't think he has that type of power. It'll be interesting to see how he develops, though. He's below average power at the moment. Carl Crawford very happy with his son. I mean, you can definitely tell their father and son, they look very similar. At 18, Cincinnati Reds find themselves on the clock here. The pick is in. Let's see which way they end up deciding to go.
Sounds amazing. You know, I take a lot of pride in that team. I'm both Vegas boys out of Vegas, you know, just to be able to just hear that as a thought. That sounds amazing.
Want to say anything to him right now?
Hopefully one day we'll be able to play out there together, and it'll be a lot of fun, and we'll win a few championships together.
Yes, it will. Congratulations, my friend. Go soak it all in.
Thank you.
Justin Crawford off the board of the Philadelphia Phillies. You know, when you look at trade deadline, you think of the Phillies, they need to go get a center fielder that can cover a lot of ground. They drafted that center fielder. I get it. He's not going right to the big leagues, But as you look at roster construction and building a championship team up the middle, they've got their future Gold Glove center fielder.
I also like the fact he's from Las Vegas. Who's from there? Bryce Harper. He's going to work out with Bryce in the winter. I mean, that's what happens, and Bryce will take this kid under his wing, and I think because of that, the offense is going to take off for him a little bit more. Look, you cannot teach speed. We hear it all the time, but you can teach all the other tools. And he's already got good bat, hand-eye coordination, putting the ball on the bat, and all these different things. But he's the guy that's going to use the whole field. But watch this. He reminds me a lot, his actions, of old Brian Hunter. When I watch Brian run and throw, I see a lot of this kid. But I love the pick because it's a uniqueness that we don't see a whole lot of, just that ability to skill. Carl took a while to develop as a hitter. And when he did, the power came on later. But Carl Crawford could fly, folks. And if his son can touch anything like his dad.
Kim's going to start. Yeah, as I said, we're super sad as an organization to bring Kumar Rocker into the fold. A lot of years scouting the guy, getting around the family, knowing the person, the competitor. And we're super excited to have like a front line type starter with the Texas Rangers. So with that, I think we'll throw out the question unless you get anything said. I don't speak for what we do. I don't worry about anybody else, so I don't know. A year ago, if anybody told you guys you were going to have a Jack Leiter your reaction? I tell you what, that was probably Adam 1-2 on my personal list, so I thought that was impossible.
Wow. We got some information out of the Rangers camp anyway as to why they drafted Kumar Rocker. They apparently had Jack Leiter 1 and Kumar Rocker 2 on their board last year. That's how highly they thought of Kumar Rocker. And after he was unable to sign his deal with the New York Mets, the Rangers were very excited about the possibility of drafting him in this draft here. You got to wonder how heavily that tinted their mirror or their lens when they were looking at other prospects in this class, looking at how good of a prospect Kumar Rocker was last year versus how good of a prospect he is this year, and as well as the other prospects in this class. That's one thing that will be judged in the years to come, how good of a prospect is Kumar Rocker. Is he able to find that potential that the Rangers saw for him last year? But the Rangers beat reporter asked him, do you think you broke the draft whenever you draft Kumar Rocker this year at number 3 overall? Kip Fag basically giving a blank stare going, broke the draft? No. But they definitely did break all the models. A lot of players are moving around a little bit. All those underslot deals being reevaluated, I'm sure, by other teams now that they find better talent still on the board than they may have thought. Pitching going earlier in this draft than might have been expected. Teams that were targeting pitching in the second half of the first round anyway are going to find that those pitchers are no longer there, so maybe some of the better hitters fall to them. That's a good thing for those teams. However, a lot of reaches so far with pitching, it seems like. Biggest surprise, biggest name on the board still out there, Cam Collier. Very curious to see what ends up happening there. Maybe he's going to be one of those draft picks that's going to be have his well over slot value whenever we get to that point in the draft. If he continues to slide into the 20s, you got to wonder maybe he slides all the way out of the first round because you don't think he's going to sign for back of the first round money. Some things you have to consider when you're going through the draft in Major League Baseball. Appreciate you guys joining us on a Sunday evening, watching Major League Baseball draft. Major League Baseball doing it right this year, making it a primetime event, All-Star Weekend, finally bringing it outside and allowing the public to join in the experience. Good on Major League Baseball for finally deciding to upgrade and modernize a little bit. Those of you just joining us, Jackson Holliday goes 1 to the Baltimore Orioles, shortstop for the future for the Orioles anyway. Diamondbacks get Drew Jones, the top overall prospect in the draft according to multiple experts out there anyway. They will have an elite outfield class out there for them. Thomas and Carroll, and now Jones added to that mix. At 3, the Rangers stunned everybody and went with Kumar Rocker. He was drafted 13th, I believe, last year by the Mets. Kind of fell in last year's draft. After being out of organized baseball for a long period of time, he signed on at Independence Ball, pitched well there, but the Rangers stunned everybody and went off the board and got Kumar Rocker at number 3 overall. At number 4, Pittsburgh Pirates get the guy they were mocked the entire time, Tamar Johnson. Here's Manfred with the 18th pick.
22 MLB draft. The Cincinnati Reds select Cam Collier.
Finally, Cam Collier comes off the board.
College, Marietta, Florida.
I expect this is going to be an above slot deal for Cam Collier.
So the Cincinnati Reds get a young man that was considered a top 10 talent at number 18. He's a third baseman. He's only 17 years old. Son of former 8-year big league veteran Lou Collier. At 17, he was one of the top prospects of the 2023 draft class. But Danny, he decided to reclassify, and it looks like it paid off.
Hey, listen, the Reds picking at 18 might have got one of the steals of the draft. I mean, this young man has got a field ahead. He's just growing into his power. He's 17 years old. He's got a 70 arm, more than capable with his body movements to stay at third base. We're talking about a young man here who realistically we could be looking at 5-6 years down the road as a perennial all-star in our game. Middle of the lineup, aircraft carrier.
Aircraft carrier, which in case you don't know, as you see the Collier family celebrate, that's like base of the franchise carrier, the organization.
Good pick there by the Reds. No longer have Eugenio Suarez there.
Go ahead, Coach.
I think he's a blend of the high school versus college argument. He's right in the middle, and he can take comfort in knowing his position. You got mad at me yesterday for throwing out Pedro Alvarez. You'll get even more mad at me now because I was watching him hit again. C.J. Cron is a totally different player, I realize it, but he does some things with his hands where he can kind of flick and manipulate the ball in a very special way.
I always look at the ballpark. You know, he fits perfect in Cincinnati. They happen to end up there. Let's take a look at this tape real quick. We'll break him down for you.
Cam Collier finally off the board at 18. A's are up next. Anyway, pick is in for them. Let's kind of look at Cam Collier's information. Baseball America had him as the number 7 prospect in the game. He was the youngest hitter in the 2022 draft class. Will still be 17 years old on draft day. 60 hit tool, 55 power, 40 run, 50 field, and 65 on his arm. And as they mentioned, son of former big leaguer Lou Collier. Currently top-ranked member of the 2023 high school class, but opted to reclassify in the 22 draft class and then moved to Georgia high school baseball. That way he could join one of the top junior college programs in the country in Chippewa. Aggressive moves paid off for him. Second on the team in hitting, slashing 333 average and a 537 slugging percentage. 8 homers, 12 doubles, 25 walks, and 33 strikeouts. Advanced hitter at his age, excellent pitch recognition, ability to let the ball travel, trust his hands, and uses the entire field. Wide stance, keeps his hands low, occasionally lets the hands take over his swing and slap the ball the other way without fully incorporating his lower half. So he can slap the ball for contact when he needs to. Plenty of strength and will probably physically mature into plus raw power and is expected to gain it during games as well. Solid hands, good defensive instincts. Scout skeptical of his defense, but eventually expect a move to first base primarily because of mobility concerns at his physical peak. They're worried about his size eventually getting the better of him. So you can kind of see maybe that's the reason why he falls here. But if you can keep him at third base, maybe he turns into kind of like a Miguel Sano type player, as things didn't really work out in the long run for Sano, of course, with the Twins. But maybe you could see that type of player for going over there. He's only 17 years old, though, and just looking at him play, you can kind of see why scouts believe he's going to put on a lot of muscle in the next few years. 17 years old, and he's already got a nice frame on him. Carries the weight well. With that, the A's are up next. They made that big trade, multiple big trades this offseason. Matt Olson, Chapman, Manaea. They still got Montas to deal away. Shea Langeliers was the MVP of the Futures game. He was part of that package for Matt Olson from the Atlanta Braves. And we're about to have Rob Manfred.
An A's organization that loves to
Here he is.
historically when college players, we'll see where they go here.
With the 19th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Oakland Athletics select Daniel Susak, a catcher from the University of Arizona. The Atlanta Braves have the next pick.
Not a surprising pick from the outside looking in, just because we've seen Oakland do this before. They don't really care about what position of need they have, both on their major league roster or in their minor league depth. They draft for usually best player available, draft the best upside that they can as well. They draft makeup, and with Shea Langeliers already in-house, they have Murphy at the big league level. They seem set at catching, so why would they draft a catcher, especially coming out of college? Well, as we've seen before, they are not afraid to move around young prospects in order to get different prospects that they like at the major league level. They compare his swing to Chris Bryant. And you can kind of see why. Very similar. Good pick here for Oakland. He was the number 11 overall draft, or number 11 overall on the big board anyway, coming into the day. And with that, the top 10 have all been drafted. The top 11 have been drafted anyway. Brock Porter is the only one left on the big board. In the top 13, Cole Young is still out there. Brandon Barrera. That's kind of your draft picks right now. Robbie Snelling, left-hander out of Vegas. The Atlanta Braves are on the clock. They have a lot of work to do to rebuild that minor league system. Once thought of as the best minor league system in all of Major League Baseball, certainly has taken some hits both through graduation up to the big league level, through failed performance, and of course through trade. They traded away 4 of their top prospects in that deal for Matt Olson. They did not retain Freddie Freeman. You got to wonder if they were able to hold on to Freddie Freeman and keep those prospects, how much better of a minor league system the Braves would have right now. Drew Waters hasn't lived up to his potential at the AAA. They just traded that his prospect status anyway for the number 35 pick, I believe, in this draft. Once a pick is traded, it is not allowed to be traded again. Daniel Susak in this year with Arizona hit 366, 12 homers, an OPS of 1,000.
He's going to get the most out of your pitching staff.
You look at his numbers and your evaluation, you give him a 50 hit, 60 power.
Player comp, Carlton Fisk. I don't know about that. Player comps are always difficult with MLB players because just because there are so many different major leaguers out there, each one of them just plays the game so differently. It's tough to make a perfect comparison. The pick is in for the world champion Atlanta Braves.
Arizona. Massive talent, massive structure and framework for a catcher. He's a big catcher, 6'4". Daniel really has to work at his mechanics. As a bigger catcher, everything from receiving to blocking to his transfer when he throws, because it's complicated for a big catcher. He has the talent. He's got tremendous upside on the offense. He's a tremendous receiver, great hands. As he gets in a pro ball, I think a lot of these things are going to smooth out as he gets the reps and understands the importance of the transfer, getting that ball in the fair hand early as he makes his way to the major leagues.
Susak was the number 11 draft prospect according to both MLB.
Mike Scioscia, longtime coach of the Los Angeles Angels, former catcher, always is hard on his catchers. You can kind of see the catching analysis there.
A couple Susak catchers, as you see Colin.
Very curious what Atlanta decides to do with this pick. Looks like we might be going to commercial first, though. What do you guys think of the draft so far? The biggest surprise of the night, obviously, Kumar Rocker. What's your favorite pick of the draft so far? We had a couple of votes earlier for Jackson Holiday going number 1 overall to the Orioles. Those are a little bit too obvious. If you take out the top 2 picks, Holiday and Jones, what's your favorite pick of the night? Nationals going with Green and the upside there. Lee going to the Twins. I think all of the pitching has been a reach so far today. So I would pretty much rule out every single one of them. I like the pick for the Pirates at 4 with Tamar Johnson. Just because you're mocked it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing that you select him then. You don't have to outthink the room. If he's the best player in the draft, best player on your board, best player available at your pick, you take him. Collier to the Reds is one of my favorite picks. I wonder if they're able to get it done, though. Very curious to see just how that negotiation goes. I expect that one to probably go all the way to the finish line on that one. Maybe we see another Kumar Rocker situation develop as they get closer to the deadline to sign him. I love the Mets draft so far. They drafted Pareda at 11 and then took Jet Williams there at 14. Pareda fits in at that catcher spot in a division that has a couple of good catchers now. But Collier at 18 to the Reds might be the steal so far. I like the choice of the Guardians of Chase DeLauder out of James Madison. I worry about his injuries, though. As a Rangers fan, I'm excited and also worried about the pick of Kumar Rocker. Worries me what they're going to do, especially after all the different directions they could have gone. Makes me think back to the time when the Rangers selected Dylan Tate. They drafted for what his projection was supposed to be, and then turned around and flipped him in the Carlos Beltran deal. He never worked out as a prospect anyway and is now in the Baltimore Orioles organization. He's a productive relief pitcher for them, but he's never lived up to that starter status that he had. I worry about that happening with Kumar Rocker, but Kumar seems like he's probably going to stick in the rotation more than anything else. At least the Rangers are going to give him every possible opportunity to do so anyway. Braves have 4 picks today as they try to rebuild their prospect pool, 20, 35, 57, and 76 tonight.
So we just saw Daniel Susak off the board, the catcher to the Oakland Athletics. So the Braves here at number 20.
Here they go pitcher with Porter.
Tonight, the great Fred McGriff.
Fred McGriff, all right.
Back in the 9th round, back in 1981.
The crime dog. You know that came from Kirby Puckett, named him that on a trip to Japan. He said he looked like the crime dog, McGruff.
That's where it came from. It's a crime he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, it is. That's true.
Time to find out if the Braves are taking at number 20.
With the 20th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Atlanta Braves select Owen Murphy, a right-handed pitcher from Riverside Brookfield High School in Riverside, Illinois. The Seattle Mariners have the next pick.
Owen Murphy, one of the top high school 2A talents in this draft class. He was the Gatorade Baseball Player of the Year for the state of Illinois. 9-0 with 0.12 earning, 550.
Two-way prospect, as they mentioned anyway. You do worry about the drafting of him here anyway, just because that he was originally projected to go around number 45, as he was the 45th best prospect according to Baseball America anyway. They could have probably drafted him with their third pick tonight. Very curious that they take him all the way up here. Maybe they just really like the talent. You got to imagine they're going to save a little bit of money possibly here in the slot, move that money around as best they can. Here's Jim Callis.
Yeah, he's a pitcher first and foremost. He was among the national leaders with 18 home runs. I think he would have been maybe fourth, fifth round guy as a third baseman, but he's a pitcher. One of the more advanced pitchers in this draft. He's got a fastball low 90s with really good shape and carry. He has great feel for a slider, lands it for strikes, turns it into a cutter. He has a curveball, he has a changeup. Really good command for a high school kid. Really athletic. He's pitching about an hour away from being high school, not too far away from being Illinois. And, it's interesting. The high school pitchers, it's always hard to figure out where they're going. They don't really go in the order you expect. He's one guy who I thought, was probably going maybe 30 to 45 range. Braves obviously like this guy. Really interesting. Brock Porter, who a lot of us thought might be the first pitcher taken today, healthy, best high school pitcher in the draft. Greg, I think somebody's pushing him down maybe to the 30s to give him a big payday.
Wow. That's something to look forward to down the line. Jim Callis, thank you very much.
Really?
He says he's a pitcher, but the Ohtani effect.
A big payday possibly coming for Porter. Well, just curious to see what the competitive balance round actually looks like. Orioles, D-backs, Royals, Pirates, Guardians, Rockies, and Padres. That's how it was originally set up as. But we saw the Royals already flip their pick to the Braves. Maybe this is the Braves saving up some money to make a big offer here to Porter. My question then would be, well, why don't you just draft him with this draft pick? That doesn't make sense. Diamondbacks saved just a little bit of money anyway with their pick in the first. Not much with Drew Jones. Sounds like they saved him $185,000. Orioles, Jackson Holiday, that wasn't much of a savings. Tamar Johnson wasn't much of a savings. Guardians didn't really save much money. Maybe one of those teams turns around and flips that pick for other prospects. That might make sense. Rockies are out there. Padres, of course. That's probably going to be the range for Porter, according to Callis. Very curious. Cole Young is the draft pick by the Mariners. 18 years old, 6 foot, 180 pounds. High school prospect. This is about where he was expected to go. Number 20 overall, according to MLB.com. Mariners, of course, are winners of 14 straight now. Cole Young, Baseball America had up at number 14. They drafted him as an outfielder, though. He does play shortstop as well, 5'11". Here's Jonathan Mayo.
Wow, one major tool. He does everything really well. I think the one standout tool is probably the hit tool. He has a chance to be a plus hitter, really barrels up the baseball on a consistent basis. He's an above-average runner. He's got a strong arm. He has every chance to stay at shortstop, and left-handed hitting shortstop. Everyone loves one of those, but he's one of those guys that you watch him over the course of a week, and you realize that he will do a lot of the little things to help your team win, in addition to all the very good tools he has across the board. And he's just
So they just had their graphics mixed up on the draft anyway. It looks like that while he could be an outfielder eventually, that he's probably going to be a shortstop, which makes sense. The Mariners have a ton of outfielders already. J.P. Crawford is currently the shortstop for the Mariners. Cardinals are on the clock. They have 2 draft picks tonight, 22 and 59. Their pick is in, and here comes Manfred.
Rob Manfred up next.
With the 22nd pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the St. Louis Cardinals select Cooper Jerpy, a left-handed pitcher from Oregon State University. The Toronto Blue Jays have the next pick.
Cooper Jerpy, 6'3" left-hander, one of the breakout college pitchers of the year. Everything came together.
Cooper Jerpy is their next selection anyway. Number 33 overall prospect according to Baseball America, but pitchers, of course, have all been jumbled around in this draft so far. 6'3", 200, 21 years old, never been drafted before, 60 fastball, 55 slider, 55 changeup, 60 control. One of the best starters in college baseball last past year, dominated in the spring with a 2.45 ERA over 16 starts, 95 innings, striking out almost 40% of the batters he faced while walking just 5%. Dominated almost every single lineup despite throwing a fastball that just averages 90 to 91. In today's day and age, of course, that's a little bit surprising. He touches on 94, 95 at times, generally gets plenty of whiffs on the fastball, especially up in the zone. A lot of scouts question his secondary pitches, but looks like he improved on almost every single one of those. Some teams have liked him in the bullpen, but if you're drafting him this high in the draft, you imagine him to be a starter. So good on the Cardinals. They've had a penchant for drafting and developing starting pitching. Maybe they're hoping to develop this starter here as well. Blue Jays are next. We watched their game earlier today. Thank you to those of you who watched the game and are now joining us for our stream of the MLB draft tonight. Most of the top prospects are off the board, but I'm curious to see where the pitcher Porter ends up going.
Jerpy, you said, could be among the quickest to the big leagues.
I mean, I could see him up there helping the Cardinals. Now, is he going to be a starter long term? Absolutely. But there's a lot of guys that develop out of the bullpen and then end up being a starter. And if the Cardinals are in a run, which they will be, he's a guy that can come up and help you out, and especially with the 3-batter rule. This isn't give me a lefty to get lefties out. This is the guy to get 3 people out. So I like it.
14K per 9. Fans of St. Louis will like that at the big league level. 22 picks down on day 1 of the MLB.
Looks like we might be going to commercial break, unfortunately. Thank you guys for joining us. If you're just joining us for the first time, we cover the NBA, MLB, NHL, and the NFL. Cover all the teams, so make sure you subscribe and let us know which is your favorite team. Be with you guys here for probably the next few picks here of the first round, and then probably call it a night and make a few videos about the draft that's happened so far. Top draft picks, of course, Jackson Holliday goes number 1 to the Orioles, 2, Drew Jones to the Diamondbacks, 3, Kumar Rocker in the surprise of the draft. That'll be the story of this draft, I believe, is what ended up happening with the Rangers selecting Kumar Rocker so high in this one. But if you're a Ranger fan, you're hoping he continues to develop and it's not another situation of Dylan Tate drafting on pure talent and not necessarily on the performance that's on the field over the past year. At number 4, Tamar Johnson went to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Long been speculated he would go there. Best hitter in the class, which is exactly what the Pirates need. Somebody who can get on base. They had that before, and that's when they had some success with Adam Frazier. Elijah Green, probably the most mocked pick anyway in this draft, going to the Washington Nationals, especially after the Juan Soto news that he decided to decline a 15-year offer of $440 million. This is the type of player that could fill the shoes of a Juan Soto in the long run, especially after losing Bryce Harper and now possibly Juan Soto. They needed to get somebody who could be an aircraft carrier type of player. 6'3", generates a lot of talent with that bat anyway, a lot of power with that bat anyway. We'll see if they're able to get some of that power to translate into the game and get it to the major league level and produce. But Juan Soto is on the market. Sounds like it might not happen at the deadline as far as a trade for Juan Soto, as the trade package is going to have to be quite massive, and we'll have to see where he ends up going. It's like we're just about to come out of commercial break. It'll be the Blue Jays, followed by the Red Sox, and then the Yankees, followed by the White Sox after that. A lot of your East Coast teams here. Blue Jays could go in a number of different directions. They could go pitching. With the struggles they've had on the mound, I almost expect them to go pitching here. I'm very curious to see if we end up seeing a compensation pick trade tonight. Maybe the Rangers deal one of those AAA prospect starters, like a Cole Winn, get back in here at the top of the compensation round and go after a guy like Porter with the savings that they would get from the Kumar Rocker deal. Curious to see what the number ends up coming out for Kumar Rocker. Which way they end up going. Sean Green, the player representative for the Blue Jays at the draft. I actually have a Sean Green rookie card, I think, somewhere in my stash. I came across it literally at a garage sale. Here comes Manfred for the Blue Jays pick.
Their pick is up next. With the 23rd pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Toronto Blue Jays select Brandon Barriera, a left-handed pitcher from the American Heritage School, Plantation, Florida. The Boston Red Sox have the next pick.
Wow. They do go pitcher there.
6'2" left-hander, one of the fastest arms.
Wow. All righty, let's look into Brandon here. He was the 17th overall prospect in this draft class, according to Baseball America, American Heritage High School out of Florida. Is a commit to Vanderbilt, so you got to wonder about the signability concerns here. But the tears of joy there. Maybe they actually believe they can actually get the signing done here. 60 fastball, 45 slider, 60 slider, 50 changeup, and 55 control. They said he was 6'2" on the telecast. They have him at 5'11" through Baseball America. I'm curious to see what his actual measurements are. Regularly touches 96 miles an hour on the fastball with upward limits of 98, 99. A slider in the low to mid 80s. Horizontal movement, late turn, and sharp bite. Good feel for how to throw strikes. A lot of spin rate on his pitches. Fastball slider is the combination for him. That's his bread and butter currently, but it has shown feel for a changeup. Doesn't use the pitch, but has shown at least average potential with it. He also mixes in a curveball rarely. Very competitive, intense while he's on the mound. Doesn't give much away. Doesn't have much in the way of physical projection, but has plenty of stuff in control that should give him a chance to at least start. Durability has been a control, while his stuff has also been a control, as durability and stuff has been issues for him with evaluators. Okay. My issue again with the pick would be whether or not they're able to sign him. Anytime you see Vanderbilt next to their name, if they're a high school player, you got to wonder if they're actually going to sign out of the draft or if they're going to go ahead and try to make the best out of a college run. A lot of happy tears here for Brandon, though. Boston Red Sox are up next. Their pick is indeed in. In case you're wondering what all this 55-60 stuff is, it's all based on a 20 to 80 scale, 20 being low, 80 being the highest, 50 is your average. A lot of pitchers now at the top of the board. Now that some of the top hitting prospects have now come off as well. Jordan Beck, the outfielder from Tennessee, one of the top outfielders still on the board. Porter, Snelling, Gilbert, some of the top top players still on the board anyway. Jacob Melton out of Oregon State, and Dylan Beavers out of Cal. As they interview Brandon right now. Manfred about to take to the podium any moment now. Red Sox to be followed by the Yankees, White Sox, and then the Brewers. We'll bring you the rest of the first round here, and then we'll probably call it a night. Make a couple of videos, get them out to you guys.
You see Scott say he's got a quick arm. Walk us through that. For the folks at home, it's like, well, obvious it's a quick arm. What does that mean?
I mean, he gets the ball out of his glove in the position to throw at an electric speed, which allows you then to stay in the context of your delivery. It allows you to get out front on a consistent basis, like as he does. Tony talked about, he's got great balance, rhythm, and timing in his delivery. He has a very repeatable delivery. He's got some possession in his delivery, too. He's more of a pitcher than a thrower. I don't think you're going to be looking at 7 fastballs out of this guy in professional baseball. I think this guy is going to pitch with an average to a little bit above average fastball, with 2 solid breaking ball and a really good feel for a changeup. But I think he's going to be a durable guy with the way he approaches his craft.
Okay. Jonathan Mayo, it said in the spring he touched 99 miles an hour. So give us an evaluation on his stuff.
Yeah, I think Dan is right. 99 is an outlier. I think the 96 is more where I had where you touched. I think he probably sit in the low, maybe he gets the mid-90s as he has some more man strength. But we're talking about multiple above average pitches with the fastball, the slider, the changeup, the control. He throws all of them for strikes, as I said. He can move in and out. He's definitely more of a pitcher than a thrower. We saw the repeatable and athletic delivery. This is a guy who can do it over and over and over again without a lot of effort.
So it's the Blue Jays with Brandon Barriera, the left-hander, going to Toronto at number 23. Now it's the Boston Red Sox at number 24. And a year ago, they were celebrating by getting a shortstop that many believe was the number 1 player in the draft, Marcelo Meyer, who slipped down to number 10. The Red Sox were able to pounce. There's a lot of available talent still out there. This is a Red Sox organization that's willing to aggressively spend in the draft.
So there's a lot of talent. And, yeah, last year I thought they had to steal the draft. So we'll see.
Here he comes.
Here comes the commissioner.
Red Sox spent heavily on Mayer. Maybe they do that again here and do a senior sign with their second pick.
With the 24th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Boston Red Sox select Mikey Romero, a shortstop from Orange Lutheran High
They do
School
not.
in Orange, California. The New York Yankees have the next pick.
From one confident high schooler in Brandon Barriera to another confident high schooler in Mikey Romero. He was at the combine. He was a pleasure to talk to and watch. Harold, he put on
Another shortstop for the Red Sox as they look to be loading up on some talent there. You got to wonder about their ability to keep Xander Bogaerts now. Because it seemed like contract extensions talks had broken off completely with Xander Bogaerts with the acquisition of Romero this year and Marcelo Meyer last year. You got to wonder just how long a contract they're really going to be willing to go for. Should they decide to keep Xander Bogaerts? I don't think that's going to happen now. I think Xander Bogaerts is very likely to leave. Not because of this draft pick, but just because of the way the Red Sox have handled the whole negotiation. Plus, they went out and spent the money on this possible shortstop replacement in Trevor Story. Now, that contract obviously doesn't look great right now. Story is injured and hasn't performed well so far this year. The Yankees pick is on the clock.
Is probably the best hit tool now, or the best overall tool for him now. I like the hands. It's very quick. I don't think he has a ton of power currently. He's a smaller guy, a thinner guy. But like you guys were talking about, I think the actions are really impressive in the infield. I like how the hands work there. I like how the feet work there. But I think the hit tool is what you're buying here.
Yeah, very impressive bat to ball skills. Carlos is right there, and he can stick at shortstop. It'll be an interesting thing to see what happens in Boston a few years down. I don't think he can play two shortstops at the same time with Meyer and now Mikey Romero, but a very confident young man who I think he does have a chance to hit, and you figure that out down the line.
I have a feeling Mikey Romero is going to love the challenge of competing down the line to be the starting shortstop for the Boston Red Sox.
I've heard unreal makeup on the kid, and I think with the theme you're talking about the last two picks, self-belief, is important for kids that are at home watching to know you have to believe in yourself as a player and when you're playing.
Yankees are on the clock right now. They have Volpe and Peraza as shortstop prospects already on the roster, already in the system anyway. They have IKF holding down the position for at least this year. I doubt they'll go shortstop here, but in case they do decide to make a trade for one of those top names on the trade market right now, Luis Castillo, Frankie Montas, apparently everybody is asking about Anthony Volpe. Here is Manfred.
The New York Yankees select Spencer Jones, an outfielder from Vanderbilt University. The Chicago White Sox have the next.
Outfielder Spencer Jones goes to the Yanks. Maybe instead of Volpe, they're willing to give up Jason Dominguez. Give up on that potential as they already have two mashers in their lineup. Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge. They still have Joey Gallo, but I don't expect that he'll be on the roster after the trade deadline. So drafting Spencer Jones here makes a lot of sense. Appreciate you guys joining us for the draft here. "21 years old, stands at 6'7". Yankees do like him big. Number 51 prospect from MLB.com. You got to wonder about maybe they're trying to save money for that second round. He was ranked as number 49 prospect according to Baseball America. 45 hit tool, 60 power, 55 run, 55 field, and 50 arm. Two-way player in 2019 draft class. Opted, of course, to go to Vanderbilt. A lot of raw power anyway. Had an elbow injury, but has been recovering from it. Should get a little bit healthier as should play a little bit better as he gets further away from that injury. Should play an above-average corner outfield defensively with that arm. White Sox are due up next. Their pick is indeed in. They will be followed by the Brewers, Astros, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Here comes Rob Manfred.
To number 26.
With the 26th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Chicago White Sox select Noah Schultz, a left-handed pitcher from Oswego East High School in Oswego, Illinois. The Milwaukee Brewers have the next pick.
Noah Schultz is 6'9", 220 pounds. And you thought Spencer Jones was impressive with his height at 6'7". Here's a 6'9" lefty. Touched 98 this spring after sitting in the low 90s last summer. A ton of confidence in his slider. Impressive. He's committed to Vanderbilt. He's considered a tough sign. Here he is at number 26 by the Chicago White Sox. Carlos Plaza, Baseball America. Is this a little sooner than we expected Noah Schultz to come off the board?
Maybe a little than what we had in the mocks, but that's not everything. I think the talent makes sense here. Like you said, he was up to 98 miles per hour this spring. That was a massive velocity gain. I think he's a guy that if he pitched more frequently this spring, he would have been in more of a consensus first-round range. At one point, we had him in the middle of first round, but he dealt with a case of mono, so that kind of limited his innings. But he's a spin rate freak. He's got a high-spin breaking ball. The slider's getting more power. And I think for his size, he actually has really good body control, controls the arms and the long.
Beginning to wonder what the pitcher Porter is going to end up going for. I was looking at some of the slot values at the late teens, early 20s anyway. The slot values were around 3 million, 2.5, that kind of range. You think back into the 30s anyway, where the tradable picks are, or where the compensation picks are anyway. Those are the picks that could be moved around. Another team could, of course, save some money and move and get some better draft picks or get some more money to go towards a guy like Porter. I'm beginning to wonder if they're just going to let Porter go through this draft and expect him to go on to college. Let me look at his information. He's committed to Clemson, 19 years old. Doesn't say anything about signability concerns, so I'm very curious which team is going to end up selecting Brock Porter. 70 fastball, 55 or 50 curveball, 55 slider, 70 changeup. Does struggle with control at times. Fantastic stuff. Just is he able to throw enough strikes for it? That's the question. The Rangers, to me, are the only team that's really made serious money-saving moves so far in this draft by going with the Kumar Rocker at the top of the draft. Goes 3 overall. Everybody else is pretty close to their slot value. I mean, the Yankees reached a little bit with their pick a minute ago, but they don't really have a pick in the range of going for Brock Porter. I don't know. You guys tell me, what do you think is going to end up happening with Brock Porter? Just waiting for the draft to get back underway. We're at commercial break at the moment. Final 4 picks of the draft, of the first round anyway. Brewers, Astros, Rays, and Giants. Told you at the beginning of the season I did not believe in the Giants' resurgence last year, as it was a whole bunch of guys having career years. We're seeing the downside of that this year as they struggle to stay in playoff contention.
Guess you can call this my Hall of Fame.
With the right support, any dream is possible. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly.
That's weird. I don't think I've ever seen Derek Jeter do a commercial aside from like Subway. That was interesting. He's largely stayed out of the news ever since he left the ownership of the Miami Marlins, citing differences with direction of the team. All righty. Looks like we're back underway. Brewers' first pick of the night. They have 27, 63, and 72 tonight. Brock Porter, by far the best prospect still on the board. Robbie Snelling as well. Drew Gilbert and Jacob Melton round out the top 5, along with Dylan Beavers.
Talent. It's been fun. It's been erratic.
You know, you're about to get a call from Jordan Beck on that one.
Probably, yeah.
I am really hoping we get to see one of your players get drafted while you're sitting on this set. That'll be fun to witness. For now, it's time to go back to the podium.
With the 27th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Milwaukee Brewers select Eric Brown Jr., a shortstop from Coastal Carolina University. The Houston Astros have the next pick.
Eric Brown Jr. He's a 5'10 shortstop, right-handed bat. Played great at the Cape. OPS over 800, 12 bags in 33 games. It led to a career best 2022 year where he had 330, on base 460 in 57 games at Coastal Carolina. Dan O'Dowd, what do you make of this pick? Eric Brown Jr.
Well, okay, you guys remember Julio Franco, don't you? Very similar approach to him. But he's on time. He gets to the ball well. He's got a ton of confidence. He's very athletic. He's got some Damian Easley in for me, the way he moves defensively around the diamond. So I think it.
As we get later into the draft, I'm going to know less and less about these prospects. But Eric Brown Jr. goes to the Brewers, 21 years old, a little bit older of a prospect as the Brewers like to churn things out. From close by here in Bossier anyway, went out to Coastal Carolina. Number 63 overall prospect on MLB.com. Maybe the Brewers are saving some money. Maybe a Robbie Snelling possibility in the future. Maybe a Brock Porter signing. Or maybe they just worry about the signability concerns here, and so they just went ahead and gave him the slot. We'll see. Astros pick is in. Astros have done a great job developing young talent, especially pitching talent. They've been fantastic with that.
He's got a hit with him, but he can defend. Yeah, you just root for certain teams to not mess with what worked for certain guys. So, again, Eric Brown Jr. off the board from Coastal Carolina, drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. You see the draft room of the Houston Astros. They're picking at number 28, James Click and his group. And that pick's moments away. With the Astros pick coming up, we want to mention that following the tragedy in Uvalde, Texas on May 24th, baseball's tried to help play a part in the.
Of course, the Astros have been the best team in the AL West for years. They have a number of good young pitchers on their roster now. You wonder what they're going to end up doing with the Verlander situation as he continues to age. Maybe they continue that young pipeline of pitching. It would make sense for them to go pitching here. They could use a center fielder, center field prospect, as most of their outfield prospects have graduated. So I'm going to go with either a pitcher or an outfielder. Here is Manfred.
Tonight, we're joined by two families representing Uvalde's Little League Baseball and Softball. I'd like to invite two of their players, Willis Suarez and Ryan Zamora, to come up and announce the Astros selection.
With the 28th pick of the 2022 MLB draft of the Houston Astros, select Drew Gilbert, an outfielder from the University of Tennessee. The Tampa Bay Rays will have the next pick.
And they do go outfield.
The Volunteer.
They need to replenish their upper minors prospect depth in the outfield, and they do that perfectly here by drafting Drew Gilbert. The head coach of the Tennessee team is actually on the MLB Network broadcast. Big old smile. Let's listen to his evaluation.
He does things in the locker room and the dugout that are very tough to describe, especially in a short amount of time, but literally change the way the program operates, thinks, competes, works. I think he's going to do that at the big league level too, even though he's going to have to establish himself. Phenomenal kid. I'm so happy for him.
How did he change your program?
Just the mentality. Instead of going to any program that he wanted to in the country, which he was originally going to Oregon State, who at the time kind of had college baseball by the cojones, if I'm allowed to say that. And instead of doing that, he went to the place he thought he could turn into one of the best baseball programs in the country. And he did it. And he got our guys thinking about being on the attack, believing in themselves, and he set a very, very high bar for work ethic.
He's such a fun player to watch. The swagger, he fed him.
Good, high-quality player for the Houston Astros. They hit it big with Kyle Tucker a few years back. He's now going to be an all-star for years to come in that Astros organization. Drew Gilbert now hopefully will do the same for them going forward. The Rays are on the clock. A minute and a half left remaining for them. Appreciate you guys joining us for the MLB draft. Probably going to wind it down here after the pick of the San Francisco Giants anyway, and then we'll get into the compensation picks and competitive balance picks, those kinds of things. But we'll post a couple of videos tomorrow, probably about Kumar Rocker, probably about Drew Jones, Jackson Holiday as well, and maybe a few other interesting picks. Cam Collier going to the Reds, those kinds of things. If you guys would like me to make a video on your favorite team, let me know. Put it in the comments section. Hit that subscribe button. Appreciate you guys joining us as this draft has now reached the 3-hour mark. Pick is in for the Rays. We'll see which direction they end up going here.
And then on the hitting side, everybody loves how he got better at kind of balls and strikes, reading pitches, swinging at strikes, taking balls. And then the other thing he started to do this year was use the whole field. And I know one thing from talking to Grossi, who's, in the draft room there with the Astros, when he had an exit velo of 113 at Minute Maid in that tournament, that was something that took everybody by surprise and grabbed their attention.
I'll tell you what, when the coach says he changed my program, I almost feel like crying.
Changed my life.
I know.
Not just program, change your life. It's the truth. And now, granted, there was a few headaches I had to manage in there, but I do that to other people as well. You got to take the good with the bad. And the good with this kid far exceeds it. And it's from the family he comes from and the way he was raised. So I'm so happy for him. That where he was at is Peyton Manning's saloon. So he doesn't need to be at a bar right now. The cages are literally a mile from Peyton Manning's place. He needs to make sure the Astros get their money's worth. Go to the cages, Drew.
I'm sure you will. Drew Gilbert hearing from his former head coach, Carlos Collazo. What'd you make of what Tony just said about his player?
I mean, how am I supposed to follow that? That was a fantastic breakdown. But, from my perspective, I just think there's nothing really that Drew doesn't do on the field. It's solid tools across the board. You mentioned the exit velocity. He's a smaller guy in terms of the height, but he's very strong. The exit velocities were some of the most impressive that we had heard from teams. Great center field. I just think it's an all-around really impressive profile. Being the best hitter on the best team in college baseball is a pretty good start.
Drew Gilbert, the fiery Drew Gilbert, going to the Houston Astros at number 28. We're up to the Rays at number 29. The first round goes through 32 picks. As you're inside Eric Neander's draft room with his staff, they're the third best farm system according to MLB.com. They're littered with talent. They're about to add to it. To the podium we go.
With the 29th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the Tampa Bay Rays select Xavier Isaac, a first baseman from East Forsyth Senior High School in Kernersville, North Carolina. The San Francisco Giants have the next pick.
Xavier Isaac, first baseman, goes to Tampa. Tampa's always drafted usually middle infielders, that kind of thing, and they've done really well, very successful doing that for a very long time. But now they take a risk here, in my opinion, going with somebody a little bit less athletic, going with more of a power bat. You saw this past offseason, they were actually in on Freddie Freeman, so maybe there's a change in mindset coming through the Tampa Bay Rays organization. Very surprising pick here for the Rays. Pick is in for the Giants at number 30.
I can see that. I was thinking Stargell, Parker, that big body, that type of gambler.
I think if you polled high school kids across the country right now and said, does this pick make sense? Every one of them would say, yeah.
Really?
He's got explosive power and a great kid, too.
Again, Xavier Isaac, who wasn't in the top 100 for MLB.com, goes at number 29 for the Tampa Bay Rays.
They don't pick off that list.
They don't.
They don't pick
They
off that
do it
list.
their way. Come on, they don't play the same game we do.
Yeah. In case you were wondering what I was searching for there, that was any information on Xavier Isaac. I mean, I just searched through Baseball America's top 100. He's not there. MLB.com, he's not there. But like Dan O'Dowd said, they use their own list. They have their own set of parameters they go for. They have their eyes set on something different than usually most of the rest of the league. Athletics have operated that way for decades, and same thing with the Rays here. Final couple picks of the first round. Giants pick is in. Just waiting for them to get back from commercial break. Probably call it a night after that one. Appreciate you guys joining us here. Let us know what you think of the draft so far. Who was your favorite pick? Who was your surprise of the night? That one I think is fairly obvious. I was a little bit surprised that the O's didn't take Drew Jones, but that made a lot more sense when they did take Jackson Holliday. They do need help up the middle. They really don't have much there at all. And Jackson Holliday should be a very good player for them. But thank you guys for joining us. And we'll try to do some more live streams when baseball gets back after the All-Star break. Probably do the All-Star game on Tuesday. That'll probably be our next live. I'll let you guys enjoy the Home Run Derby tomorrow night with your family. Probably put out a few videos that are of other news that's going around in sports right now. The offer sheet that was matched for DeAndre Ayton, check in on the Donovan Mitchell situation, let you guys know about what's going on with Jimmy Garoppolo, those kinds of things. Of course, the trade deadline coming up in a couple of weeks here for baseball, a number of names on the market. Not as many as there have been in the past, not as many good quality names as there have been in the past. Juan Soto probably among the best on the market right now. In my opinion, there should be the addition of Shohei Ohtani as well. But keep it here to the upside, and we'll let you know whatever's going on around the world of sports. MLB, NBA, NFL, and the NHL. But really appreciate you guys joining us for tonight, as this draft has crossed into the 3-hour mark in the first round. All-Star game is Tuesday, a home run derby tomorrow night, and the draft, of course, happening right now. Rounds 3 through 10 will happen on Monday, 11 through 20 on Tuesday. Draft is only 20 rounds nowadays, as they've trimmed it down over the years. International draft is still being worked out between the Players Union and Major League Baseball. Giants have 2 picks tonight, number 30 and number 66. And here comes the commissioner here shortly.
Their top 3 prospects: Luciano, a shortstop; Kyle Harrison, a left-handed pitcher; Luis Matos, an outfielder. Where will the Giants go? We're about to find out. To the podium.
With the 30th pick of the 2022 MLB draft, the San Francisco Giants select Reggie Crawford, a two-way player from the University of Connecticut. The Colorado Rockies have the next pick.
Reggie Crawford, two-way player, and announced that way too. Very interesting there. Number 59 from Baseball America's List, left-handed pitcher / first baseman, 70 fastball, 60 slider, 40 changeup, 45 control. Does struggle to throw strikes. He was one of the first pitchers to have Tommy John surgery in this class that kept him out of action for the entire season. That left him just 8 innings on his resume from Connecticut, with brief look in Cape Cod League and USA Baseball collegiate team. Looks like he touches 99 with his fastball. Usually sits in the mid-90s, plus slider in the mid-80s anyway. Scouts didn't really have an opportunity to see him throw the changeup with command. Durability questions are considerable. He's considered a reliever possibility as well. Played a lot at first base, hitting .309, 14 home runs, and a .546 slugging percentage. Strong build. Basically, teams came into the draft split as to whether or not he'd be a pitcher or a hitter. Sounds like the Giants are at least going to give him the opportunity to be both for now. We'll see how it ends up going. Through the first round so far, 13 high schoolers were drafted, 16 collegiate players, 1 two-way player. Rockies are on the clock. Keep it tuned here to the upside for the latest from the MLB, NHL, NBA, and the NFL as the first round compensation pick is underway. This pick for, I believe, Trevor Story, I think. Can't remember. I think it's Story and then the compensation for Castellanos. Appreciate you guys joining us. And if you're just joining, you can watch this draft over again as we are about to sign off here at the end of the first round. It's been a great day for baseball as they wrapped up all their playing wrapped up before the start of the draft, allowed the entire eyes of the baseball world to descend on the draft. First time it's ever been held outdoors. Great event so far for baseball as they allowed their young players who aren't even going to be in baseball or the majors at least for at least a year, more than likely. Most of them more than likely 2 years at the very least. It's very nice for baseball to be able to give them the spotlight that every other sports organization or every other league has been able to do. NFL, you see the changes they made to the draft, moving the draft outside from Radio City Music Hall. You saw how great that was in Vegas anyway. NBA also moving their draft around a little bit. They're now in Barclays. All of their drafts, though, are after the season. Baseball does theirs in the middle of the season. It's nice that they don't have games going on during the draft and allow it to be on All-Star Weekend. Draft's gone very well, but as we sign off, just want to thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys at the All-Star Game on Tuesday. Keep it tuned to the Upside, as we're going to post some videos over the next couple days over fallout from the draft, catch you up on all the other events going around in the NBA as well, and catch you guys up on what's going on with Durant and Mitchell. But thank you guys for joining us here at the Upside Sports Network.